Telling you straight, it's my way. Everybody wants to walk to it now. I'm your huckleberry.
Something strange happened to me this morning. Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming?
No, now I'm ready. There you go. Welcome to the morning show. I wanted to do a fade out before my audio came in, and then I forgot to make the other audio come in. Forgot to do that. This is kind of the BTS of the setup, right? This is what's behind the green screen when I'm normally doing the show. I'm in the same spot. Yeah, welcome to the ever evolving semi mess. So far, it looks, I think it's all right. I've got, I don't know why, is anybody else into the home automation thing? I'm a big fan. I really, really am. However, the one issue I have with home automation systems, lights, Chip is running around. He'll hop up in a minute. Trust me. He was just in here a minute ago and then he ran off right as the show was starting. But yeah, it's, this just workspace. So, if I wasn't working so much, I could really get some work done. You know how it feels. You know how it is. Yes. But I figured this would be a good way to, shift the show from the normal afternoon. I'm a Chicago guy here as well. Love that. We love Chicago. Miss Chicago horribly all the time. I'm just going to put that out there and just understand that it's yet another melancholy I just carry around with me. We have not found a home for Chip yet, but we haven't been looking because he's still got to get his shots first. Let's see if I want to see if I can pull this up. But some of the devices, like I said, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of home automation devices, lights, that kind of stuff. I have fingerprint locks on the house. I have on my, here, I'll show you these side lights that I have on. I'll turn them on right now. Those are the ones that light up the green screen when it's behind me. When I'm done working, check this out. I go, we'll see if it works, but hey Siri, punch out. Like the clock.
Done.
See, that's cool. To me, that's a lot of fun. Now, it's, if I could get the whole thing set up that way where it would sleep the computers and do all that at once, that'd be awesome. But, yeah, let's see. Welcome to the game. I'm all set, done, fantastic. Open up the studio. Why would these things be unreachable? Some of my lights, after a power outage, after something or whatever, some just choose to disappear, and it's not consistent. It is not a regular thing. I don't quite get it. And if anybody else experiences this, I would love to hear about it. But, from Highland Park. My dad's girlfriend lived in Highland Park when I was in high school, and she lived 4 houses down from Mr. T. Little known fact. That's true. And there was a big to-do when he moved in because he was going to cut down trees that were 150 years old. And everyone was like, hey, buddy. These trees are 150 years old. They're older than all of us. You don't need to. Here's an idea. The view from your window is supposed to include the trees. Right? Trees are a good part of a view. If you're going to have a view, next thing you know, cut down these trees and drain the lake. Last thing I want to see when I look out a window is water. It was just silly. Remove all sins, pave this shit. It was crazy. But I'm kidding, of course. He's a genuinely decent human being. But that was one of the things that it was a big clutch the pearls. Yes, it's near Ferris Bueller's house, which is Cameron's house, which has always been kind of a dream house of mine. I gotta admit. but it's more expensive than all the other houses there. I got a long way to go before I can afford that one. But it's still a dream. There's no reason. All right. What was I looking for on here? Oh, yes. So, when, I automate stuff using my iPad and other stuff like that, and then some of the things that come up, for whatever reason, they'll just decide to go away. They'll just, for a day, and then sometimes they come back. I have the Ghost in the Machine. Yay, super chats! Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Christina. Good morning, TGIF, and for how. Aw, that's so sweet. And Benny Loco, thank you so much. Big hugs to you. And Sebastian, thank you. And Shadow Woman, 7. Thanks for the bits. That's amazing. 1,000 bits. Look at that. And thank you, Shadow Woman 7, for gifting the sub. I think was that. And Sebastian, thank you so much. What am I? I have 3. I have a mouse and 2 trackpads. And yeah. And sometimes I grab the wrong one. That said, forgive me. Now, I haven't made a screen yet for, let's see if I can do this. Hold on. This might, if I blow up the whole thing, I apologize. Whoops. See, I type in the wrong, field, and I get a lot of bumpity-doos. Now, let's see. I'll switch over to this. And then I will, let's see, can I, yeah, I guess so. Need to take this guy, move me over here. I should be a little, I guess. I'll just put it up in the corner, I guess. I'm looking for a way to put, let's see, it's a video input capture. This is the morning stuff. This is what I get up and like mess around with every morning. That guy. Yeah, okay, I want vids. That's what it is. Okay, add source. There we go. And then we'll take this guy down to a very small size. A little thing like this. I'm just doing a little bit of housekeeping on this guy so that I can, and then I'll put this there. There you go. Maybe, yeah, that'll work. I don't care. I'm gonna have to tweak this on my off time. It's coming. I'll show you what I'm doing in a second. Because what I'll do is put this. I need to put this over a little further so it's in the wrong space. But I'm making a little screen. I decided that I was like, I'll go green screenless this morning, and then it takes work to do said green screenless work without ruining the rest of the show. There's a curious aspect of what would be. There we go. Do this over here. That's better. And I'll make this a little smaller because that's better. Okay, here we go. So we can do our trends thing without it being a big to-do. Does that work? It kind of works. I know. I'll make it longer this way. Yeah, sure. Why not? Little housekeeping. Beg your pardon. And then I've learned a while back, and I know some of you have learned this valuable lesson online, is the accidental sharing stuff. where you're like, oh, I didn't mean to show a screen cap of that. You know, we know it from horribly embarrassing things that other people have done, but occasionally you're like, wait a minute, is that my personal email? Wait, what happened to the screen? You know, that kind of stuff. And I've been trying to get better since I sit here and do this alone. At kind of policing that in myself. So it may drag occasionally when I'm doing that, but for example, if I go to this guy and transition, there we go. Now I have a little window here that I can show you today's trends when we're looking at the Twitter trends. What is out there to be panicked about? You know, I know you thought, hey, I'm comfortable. I'm not upset in any major way. Fix that. Give me something to worry about. I need the adrenaline. I need the endorphin rush. It's crucial. How do I go into the weekend without biting my nails? If I didn't bite my nails, they'd never get cut. I know that's what you're thinking. There's going to be okay. Oh God. If this isn't a horrible sign of the times in its own way, COVID-19 vaccines are extremely effective at preventing serious illness and death. Trials show. Yes, we know, right? We've all been like, yeah, I know, right? I'm aware. Trending with Rand Paul. I see. Yeah. Durham, of course. I can't wait to see what a waste of time that is. Brett Kavanaugh tested positive for COVID. Do not take this as me wishing ill on him in any way. I just can't help but think about who had him on the not surviving the court, like the youngest dude there. I think he's not the youngest member of the court overall, is he? Second youngest, something like that. Yeah, second youngest, I think it is. I mean, I wish him well, and I don't want him to get sick, but wouldn't that be a random, you know, it's the circle of life. You know what I mean? Cuckoo go nuts. It would be crazy. Excuse me, it's Brad Kavanaugh. It's Brat Kavanaugh. We pronounce it Brad around here in honor of, I don't know, some dude who used to be president. I think he was. I don't remember. I mean, my American history is not that great. He was a terrible president, so he's one of the forgettables. And by the way, that's true. Just so you know, the former guy is going to go down in history as one of the forgettables. It will be as, you know, the crazies around him and that kind of stuff people talk about, but they'll just kind of go, whoa. I mean, the way we talk about like Garfield, the president being overweight and just going, a mustache. Did he have a mustache? That's how it's going to be in 50 years. Just so you know. We can all discuss it at when we hang out by Joe Biden's statue. Senator asked Facebook safety chief to end Finsta. She explains that it's slang. Finsta. Scheinen Finsta. What? Shoot the glass. All things being equal, I'd rather be in Philadelphia. And by the way, I know it's just October 1st, and we're just getting up to Halloween, but Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Simmer. I mean, settled. They were having a Christmas party. Welcome to the party, pal! And it was a Christmas party. I'm just saying. All right. Green Day, because September ended, right. Only 15%. God knows what that could be. Manhattan Beach seized beach property from a black family in 1924. Now Governor Newsom is authorizing its return. That's lovely. Cool. 52 senators. I tweeted on this. We'll talk about that in a minute. Alex Jones has to, whatever money that the court orders him to pay to the families of the Sandy Hook victims, which I would genuinely argue are victims themselves. When a child is shot, the parents and loved ones around them are equally victims in many ways. The destruction is catastrophic. emotionally, it is heartbreaking. So the other victims in the Sandy Hook shooting. But, by the way, who had me leaping forward on a technological level past what Alex Jones has available when they have to liquidate his big space desk that's covered in paper that apparently he's incapable of reading? Brie Larson, okay. Daniel Craig, I hope Bond's changed a lot while I've been a part of it. Well, it has. It became more Bourne than Bond. Don't get me started. And I love Quantum of Solace, and I like Daniel Craig. And Owen. Hopefully that's Owen Wilson, and hopefully he's fine. Let's check it out. I'm very excited. Let's see. Okay, so why the Rand Paul thing? So this is the fact check on it. CDC is the first one up. They put up UK Health Strategies, CDC. This is what happens when everybody has to push back against lunacy. And we're going to scroll down, and there's going to be a shot of Rand Paul in Congress going, do they really work though? That kind of shit. Though COVID vaccine protected against serious virulence, they are not perfect shields against the virus, particularly not the Delta variant. Experts say breakthrough infections are still relatively uncommon. Here's why they occur. Okay, we know this. I'm glad it's kind of overwhelming the whole thing. Oh, you're up to date. All right. Well, I guess it's just from the pushback point of view. I'm not clicking on Rand Paul. I'm not. I do not. Durham, look at this picture. Simmer. Durham's indictment of Sussman seems extremely unlikely to result in a prosecution. Gee, what great legal mind told you that already? Who looked at the indictment and said, I'll turn the keyboard and play that song Chevy Chase played for Cindy Morgan. I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you, but you were born to rub me first. I don't know the chords for it, and my keyboard's not hooked up, but you're welcome. The rest of it is a story about dishonesty, but the dishonesty lies in the part of Durham himself. Yes, with the emails uncovered by Charlie Savage and Adam Goldman, New York Times, show that Durham quoted them selectively to distort their meaning in Sussman indictment. Durham's material omissions are unethical and unworthy of the Justice Department. Agreed. It's not going to go anywhere. Durham isn't done yet. What do you mean? Typing? Special counsel John Durham issue a new set of subpoenas, including a law firm with close ties to 2016 campaign. That's the... He's not done yet. Just hang on. Hang on. There's something there, I promise. I now fell for a hoax that created a story about Russia collusion. Well, it was a hoax that Russian collusion was a story. I mean, is there a more inserious individual than Jim Jordan? And by the way, Jim Jordan never believing something and never taking it to the authorities is kind of a trend. Are all the pictures of Durham, like from his audition headshot to play a dinner theater Bond villain? Do you expect me to talk? No, I expect you to be indicted, Mr. Bond. Newsmax. Special counsel recently issued a new round of subpoenas relating to his 2-year-long probe of the FBI's investigation of 26 CNN reports. So this is, let's see. It's been buried by Congress News, but John Durham has been exposed as a duplicitous fraud. No, we caught it. It wasn't buried. They lied. It's time to investigate. The American people want the truth from Hillary Clinton and her campaign. They lied. I don't know. Durham found discrepancies. This should terrify Democrats. Oh, please, terrify me. Is that a story or is this just like a Pinterest thing? Oh, there you go. Okay. It starts down here. Special counsel John Durham indicted a prominent lawyer last week who worked for the Democratic National Committee in Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, alleged, and it's not going anywhere, but that's fine. Now he has issued a new set of subpoenas, including one targeting a firm tied to Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Though the secret server theory did not find its way to special counsel Robert Mueller, Durham found discrepancies between Sussman's congressional testimony and his interview with the FBI, whatever. Sussman told Congress that he was working for Alpha Bank on a project, but told the FBI he was not working for a specific client at the time. For Alpha Bank at the time. Hang on. This just went from zero to stupid in a couple of he was working for Alpha Bank. The allegation, get out of here. The allegation conservative brief is, I mean, you got to give them credit for really just a bright shining no one just spot checks stuff. I mean, you don't have to fact check it. It's a conservative website. But dude, he's accused of working for the Clinton campaign, not for Alpha Bank. You what now? Somebody like, I did make a Pinterest reference. Yes, I do have a Pinterest, and I barely use it, mostly as like a visual shopping list, which it seems to be its primary usage. Wait, and was that in fact the case? Did Fox, okay. Durham targets Clinton campaign law firm in fresh round of subpoenas. Documents come from Durham. Charged Sussman with lying to the FBI. Okay, that's not going anywhere. Like I said, this is from the Fox News article that they're quoting. Special counsel John Durham is handing down a new set of subpoenas, including one targeting. What are the other ones for? The documents, which were issued earlier this month, come after Durham charged Clinton campaign lawyer, again, alleged. We'll put that over there. I want to see what the issued earlier is. And the indictment against Sussman says he lied to, yeah, whatever. We talked about this. The secret server theory did not find its way to special. Okay, so they just quoted this directly. Though the secret server theory did not find its way to special counsel Robert Mueller's report, Durham found discrepancies between Sussman's congressional testimony and his interview with the FBI. Sussman told Congress he was working for Alpha Bank on a project, but told the FBI he was not working for a specific client at the time. Yeah, he was working on Alpha Bank data. What? So, okay. So, I guess we owe conservative brief an apology. We thought their idiocy was original, and apparently it's just a copy. Just what? At the same time, Perkins Coie's internal billing records show that Sussman billed the Clinton campaign for hours he worked on the Alpha Bank project. The law firm's clients also include... Huh? I'm not... Maybe it's their phrasing, but this seems like brutally wrong. Okay, let's see. I'm curious about this. This is, they're digging in. He was working on... Joined his Alpha Bank work with the campaign for... Sussman's attorneys say that the billing records for the campaign leave out important context, arguing the lawyer joined his Alpha Bank work with the campaign for strictly documentation purposes. Huh? All right, now we've got a whole new twist. If they're arguing the fact that he was there another lawsuit going on against Alpha Bank? Which I have not seen alleged anywhere so far. This is dumb stacking on dumb. All right, but fascinating. Now we know the source of the absolute confusion. That's I find that interesting. God. Seriously, I just feel like I'm being kicked out of an Amish banjo band every time I see his picture. In indictment accusing Sussman of hiding details about researchers, John Durham hid details about research. Okay, yeah. DARPA John Durham is investigating whether researchers working on behalf of the Clinton campaign exploited data they had access through government contracts. No, they talked to people who had access to, and again, this is one of they spied on my campaign. They totally spied on my campaign. What they found is completely true, but they spied on my campaign. Right, this is probably where we're going. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, go for it. Knock yourself out. Do we know what the Durham are they? Okay, interesting. Biden, Hillary, and the DCCC are the only three committees having payments to New Star, whose former chief tech officer is now the center of the Durham probe. It's not significant. Deep state exposed. Deep state exposed. Deep state exposed. Durham issues new subpoenas on a new IG report finding the FBI mishandled surveillance warrants tonight on Hannity. Dun dun dun. Let's see what I want to see what these what they're alleging these things say. Special gun turn tap by the blah blah blah. Law firm Perkins Coie, law firm blah blah blah. We've seen that. They are literally cutting and pasting from each site. Durham's investigation includes the Sussman lie to the FBI. We know that. More subpoenas for the law firm could be an indication that Durham might be looking at Ted Sussman charges or bring cases against other defendants. Writes National Review, or the fact that he doesn't have enough information to indict, and so he's going on a hunting expedition. Good luck with that. The indictments against Sussman claims he lied to, and then we're going to get a special master, and then the special master is going to say some stuff isn't relevant or not allowed, and everybody's going to say, well, that's the document that would prove the whole thing, and they lied to make it bad. They totally lied to make it bad. Right? Is that where we're going? Perkins Coie's husband worked, while working for Perkins Coie, also represented a cybersecurity expert who worked with researchers to collect data on the Trump organization. That data is the information Sussman took to the FBI. Yeah. That's actually, by the way, that data is actually data, just in case you wanted to know. Not like, you know how Michael and Dell will put up a slide, a graphic that Brandon House made for him that costs, $100,000 that he, outsources to Fiverr and then just cashes Michael and Dell's checks. That's not data. This is data. It's PCAPs, right? Previous unnamed expert Rodney Jaffe is referred to in Durham's indictment as Tech Executive 1. Sussman's Clinton billing records don't tell the whole story, and that the lawyer only joined his Alphabet work with the campaign for documentation purposes, reports National Review. Oh, so the National Review writes something, Fox copies that detail, then conservative toilet paper or whatever the other site spits it out, and then Marsha Blackburn tweets it to everyone. Is that the current ladder? Follow the money. Durham issues new sesame, including law firm Perkins Coie linked to okay. This is the graphic. Target Trump. Oh, this is good. Tech Executive 1 informs Michael Sussman Hillary Clinton pays Perkins Coie, who pays Michael Sussman. She pays Fusion GPS, who pays Christopher Steele, who informs the FBI and the media. All of what they talked about was true, but that's not the point. Follow the arrows. And by the way, if you're doing a follow the money thing, the arrows point the other way. Just saying. Or unless you're following the money downstream. Red October. Durham subpoenas, whistleblowers, Arizona in the crosshairs. Pray for freedom. Durham makes another big move. Really? Did you hear him flush? Okay, this is Durham County, and now it's going and spreading it. Okay, so wait a minute. What? I do not approve of these. These guys are better than these guys. What's the best? The best. Your top 5 list as if they are definitive in any way. Music is subjective, and it's supposed to be. All art is subjective. Even giving awards for it is weird. You appreciate the work, but the audience's appreciation, it is impossible, I would argue, to even put a price on music. The fact that you bought a song for 99 cents or $1.29 or downloaded it for free, you fucker, and the amount of joy that it brought to you over time is immeasurable. And you want to talk about an imbalance in work versus pay? your favorite songwriter because you have never paid them what they're worth as a worker. If it wasn't for a bunch of other people, I love Genesis. If it wasn't for a bunch of other people paying for it too, they'd be broke and it'd be your fault. So, by the way, I like Tears for Fears and Hollow Notes. I don't think they overlap just because there's two people in them. And it really has more about like, oh, there's a main lead guy and then the other guy's kind of in the background. Why don't you, if Wham was still around, they'd, they add them to the list. Official count for bad, like, it's just wrong. Limp Bizkit is, what in the world? It goes on in the Limp Bizkit world. Is this a, did Limp Bizkit put out one of these like cheap CGI videos? Did somebody make this happens a lot. People will make a, like using cut scenes from video games. They'll make a music video for a song from their favorite artist, and then it starts getting some legs. I don't know if that's the case here, but I don't care enough about Limp Bizkit to go down that hole. No one needs that. You don't need it. I don't need it. Manhattan Beach. Okay, we talked about that. That news story's been around. Whew. Oh, because we're remembering August 1st today. That's right. Or October 1st today. Beg your pardon. So there's a Vegas Strong thing. Yeah. Yeah, Summer was down on the Strip when this happened. She just left that building right before it happened. Just a nightmare. Still not a clear motive other than crazy. Green Day. Okay, well then, a woman who survived the 1918 flu and World War succumbs to COVID. Very sad, but that means she's an elderly lady. She lived a life of adventure that spanned 2 continents. She fell in love with a World War II fighter pilot, barely escaped Europe ahead of Benito Mussolini's fascist, ground steel for the U.S. war effort, and advocated for her disabled daughter in a far less enlightened time. She was, her daughter said, someone who didn't make a habit of giving up. And then this month at 105, Prometta Giacopini's life ended the way it began, in a pandemic. Oh, Prometta. We love you and your family. Thank you for spending over a century with us. 1918 and the flu pandemic would go on to kill about 675,000 Americans. A number we surpassed by 25,000 already. Sent to her ancestral home of Italy after her mother's death, Giacopini eventually fell in love with a fighter pilot who then died in the war. She left Italy after being warned that Americans would be targeted by Mussolini. Wow. Can we just... She was 105, yeah. Folks, can we please, while you guys are beating your chest and freaking out and doom screaming, remember what this woman went through as a young lady, as a young woman, escaping Mussolini after her husband died as a World War II fighter pilot. Like, it's I believe it's disrespectful to claim, the harm and horror of others, that yours is equal to theirs, when it is by no means. I know it's hard to count your blessings every day and still work to improve the world, but you can do it. You don't have to pretend that you're in a quagmire of lava and evil, and that you're the only person who's ever noticed it, to try and work to make the world a better place. It's embarrassing. That part drives me crazy. when activists do it on our side, when the right wing does it. I mean, look at Glenn Beck. I mean, he makes a career out of that. Fuck him. And that nonsense. Like, this woman went through some stuff, and he's never skipped a dessert. I don't think there's anything in my life comparable to surviving Italian fascists. No, there really isn't. But MAGA is being oppressed today by the evil Biden regime. Yes, America isn't even free anymore. Exactly. It's like we're... And has anybody noticed that there's a lot of parallels between the fringes? The fringes, we talk, everybody knows about horseshoe theory, where, people get so far left or so far right that they meet in the middle. They overlap almost. But has anybody noticed that the holes in the arguments of, like, America's collapsing, this country's ending, it's over. I mean, we're turning into Venezuela. None of them are moving. None of them are leaving. None of them are going anywhere. Right? Same thing with the people like America's the most racist and horrible country in the world, and there's, the CIA and the government is responsible for every bad thing that's ever happened on the planet. And if you got rid of America, all of the world's problems would magically go away. They're not moving either. They're not going, like, if you really believe that about where you were, the first thing you would do is take it on the heel and toe, and I guess fight it in exile or some shit. Right? Right? Reverse tourism, right? Yeah, Rachel, it's very weird. Like, whenever anybody starts down that zone, the America's irredeemably racist, or we're turning into Venezuela and it's a communist socialist takeover and we're not going to have a country anymore. That kind of stuff that's going on right now. The different political ideology, obviously, but they come to the same conclusion, right? But none of them are leaving. None of them are going anywhere. Like, so the minute they start down that road, I'm like, oh, I see. You're full of shit. I see. I thought you were trying to make a point, and I just realized you're either a lunatic or stupid. I see. I didn't realize you mind? These are serious issues, and we're looking for real solutions. So I'm gonna go talk to some people who might be interested in coming up with an actual solution to the problem, instead of pulling the magic ripcord in their vest, right? Moving is money. No, it isn't. Not in that case. It doesn't cost anything if you think you're in... ask the people in Afghanistan who are walking to Iran if it takes money. If you really... Because here's the thing. If you just feel like, well, I think I'll go live in Canada and this is bullshit. That takes money. But if you really believe, like these people purport to believe, that, we are turning into Venezuela, or or the United States is, irredeemably racist and will never, as long as it exists, it is, like those groups. If you really believe that, I don't mean go someplace. I mean, you believe that. You think that is a reality. You genuinely believe that. Then there is no excuse for it being here a second longer. And I'm not saying America love it or leave it. I'm just saying, if you really thought that, it's like if you know how when they find out a serial killer, has been doing what he's been doing for years, and you're like, the wife didn't know? You're like, nope, she really didn't know. He just really his sociopaths are great at hiding it, yada, yada. I mean, the crawl space stunk a little, but she never thought about it. And then you find out that there were a couple that saw something specific, like him dragging something into yard, burying it in the backyard, and refused to ask a question or whatever. And you're like, all right, now it's time to go live with your sister. This is silly. This is not the same thing. This is not it. I'm looking at the chat, by the way, as it goes by. I would never have thought Pat Robertson would ever leave his show. Did he leave? Criminy. How did he leave? Did he retire, or did he just sink into the floor? Thank you, Debbie. How did 15,000 Haitians end up at one particular Texas border? I would guess directed by people who were trying to foment a crisis for Biden to have to deal with, because the border is the only thing that they think is their winning issue for next year. And what they're trying to do is hamstring comprehensive immigration reform. So, like I said, there has only been the only people on the news saying America has open borders and come on in, and the president, and telling people that the president has said come on in and we aren't going to deport you. The only people saying that on the news at all are Republicans, and the ones saying it the most are Texas Republicans specifically. Other ones have talked loosely about open borders and yada yada, and from Idaho to friggin' Ohio or what have you. But when it comes down to the people who are on the news the most saying we have open borders, it's Ted Cruz, Greg Abbott, to some degree Marco Rubio, but again, he's in Florida, so you got to take a boat. You have to swim there. So when it comes to Texas, they're going to go down, they're going to go to, the place that will get them furthest into the country. Because, let me see if I can bring up a map of Texas, if I don't mind. Let me show you something. It's a strategic thing. So how far you're into the country, let's see, let's see, where's the, the Del Rio Bridge. Okay, so this is, yeah, so map of Texas. Let's see if I need to find a map that's dense enough that has Del Rio on it. Yeah, here we go. So here's why Del Rio. So from a strategic standpoint, let's say you go, okay, why don't you go into Brownsville? It is the most southern part of it. You're coming across this way and you're in, Brownsville. If you're traveling up, let's say if you're caravanning from Guatemala, why wouldn't you just enter at Brownsville? Well, that's because, can I make the box bigger? Yes, I will try. I've got to move hold on. I'll move myself over a little bit, and then I will drag this guy up a little bit. There you go. See if I can make this a little bigger, and then I'll stretch that into there as well. So we'll talk about this. Here you go, and I'll make it even bigger. There we go. So down here is Brownsville, McAllen, these areas. Okay, one would think if you were caravanning north from South America, or you joined a caravan going north from South America or any of those areas, and a lot of the people who escaped Haiti went to places like Chile and other places before they came. You've been walking that whole way, right? You've been. Oh, sorry, I didn't transition over. There you go. There we go. Beg your pardon. I forgot I'm in studio mode. Let me turn that off. Boink. Okay. So right down here, where that little thing is, it's you got Brownsville, McAllen, right? Del Rio is basically halfway. Now, if you enter in Brownsville, strategically speaking, to get far inside the state, where you place like San Antonio, it's a much bigger run. You are doing something illegal and traveling illegally this far as opposed to this far. That's why. Now, the other big place that people enter is El Paso, and then they vacillate between trying to get in El Paso or New Mexico, that kind of stuff. But the territory over here is way harder. Right? So Del Rio becomes this place where you go to because you can basically get to San Antonio, and then if you can find, rides, help, whatever, you can get to Austin and Houston. And there's, sort of cover, relatives, whatever, whoever's helping you. That's why. So that's why Del Rio. Why the 15,000 ended up there is largely because a couple of weeks ago, the president was assassinated. They had a hurricane and then an earthquake, And then a lot of the people in here were, they went to Chile and other places or tried to escape Haiti, and it took them basically that amount of time. There's 11 million people in Haiti. 15,000 of them, of the 250,000 that left, finding their way to, and communicating with each other, finding their way to the Del Rio Bridge is not that weird. They just phone treated essentially why there. But that's why, though. That's why Del Rio has the issues it has. That's because there are waterways. It's not as, like desert-like El Paso and this area up here. That's a lot of blank desert. Yeah. So, and again, this is always one of the places where like immigration activists and what would effectively be people who call themselves anti-racists, although I've yet to see a theory from them that wasn't worse than what they were fighting in some ways. It's nutty. But if anybody who self-labels that way. But there seem to be at loggerheads about the idea of like America's terrible, we're terrible towards brown people particularly, but we have to let them in. Like, that's the idea. Like, why would they want to come here if what you're saying was true? Well, it's not. It's better than that. Well, why is it better? It's better because they have chances. Well, why do they have chances? Because we're horribly terrible. Like, it just falls apart. This is basically around Del Rio, Texas, is where that argument eats itself, right? You know how it's the same thing of like pro-life but against school lunches, on the right. It's the same kind of like, but why are you against S-chip if you're pro-life? Why are you against Planned Parenthood? Does way more prenatal and postnatal care than it does abortions. So why are you just wholly against Planned Parenthood and not singling out the one thing that you think is wrong? Blind in Texas by Wasp is an awesome song. I don't drink, but it's one of my favorite. That and Cold Gin are the two drinking songs that I like to play in my band. And yes, in Blind in Texas, the first line in that is, an El Paso hellhole I couldn't get higher. So, well, you certainly couldn't get on the Mexico-American border. So, and the left will have to we'll have to reconcile that at some point. There's going to have to be a discussion, right? Without a lot of, I can't speak to people on the right having that blind spot when it comes to children. We've all just noticed it for a long time, and it seems to just breeze by them. Like that, like once a kid is born, if it starves to death, that's really just, America's a nation of strivers, right? That's that weird whole, like, wait, what? Is it a kid's fault they're born to an asshole? If the parent's a criminal and goes to jail or does something awful or is an addict or whatever, they shouldn't get a warm meal at school once a day so that they can grow healthfully and become a productive member of society, help everybody else, be decent, maybe invent the next great technology of the world. Of course, it's not their fault. It's never a child's fault. Yeah, that's right. C.S. Chui. I'm going to go with Chewy on that one. Chewy. Yeah, that's the old Carlin line. Pre-born, you're fine. Preschool, you're fucked. Yeah, I wouldn't even say they're pro-birth. I would say they're pro, like, turning women into brood mares. But we see that obvious crisscross, right? We can see that. We've been noticing. They have a blind spot there. It's very weird. They never seem to. I've never seen any of them go, huh? Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean about it. And on the left, there is a loggerhead of, a disconnect, an odd overlap in philosophy that is, we need to allow as many, oh, hi, Chip, hold on. We need to let Chip in. We need to let Chip come and say hi. Were you feeling ignored? I'm sorry. Hold on. You get full screen. We're not going to have Texas on the friggin', hold on. I have to left hand. There we go. Chip is in here. Chip came to say hi. Good morning, Chip. How are you? How you doing, buddy? Were you just running around? Now you're purring. What are you doing? What are you doing? No, you cannot. You just cannot bite every dangling cord that there is. You cannot. You're not allowed. You are not allowed. You are not supposed to. You are not supposed to. Oh no. Well, tell him hi. Yeah, say something. Sing it. Sing it. No, I'm still using Streamlabs OBS. I just made new screens to do a, kind of a behind the scenes look for the morning show since we're just hanging out. Hello. Okay. Okay. Do you want? I know. Do you want to get down, or do you just want to look around? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to go? No, you can't play with scissors. Okay. Here you go. Head this way. And if you want to come back in, you can. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, so where were we? He's so cute. Now he's playing with a cord under the door, as you do. He's very lovely. So, okay, where was I? He's very camera shy. Playing with scissors, yes. When it comes to, people coming into the country, there's a blind spot in the talking points of the left, which is America terrible, horribly racist, awful, has always and will always treat, people of color, people from different cultures poorly, the white supremacy, blah, blah, blah. That whole conversation has a disconnecting overlap with the talking point that we need to let these people in so that they can survive, so that they can thrive, so that they have a chance at a good life. That just does not. It's like you built train tracks all the way across the country and you were off by half a mile. And you're like, oh, fuck. We should have, right? There's a ton of chat going on. It's hard. Oh, thanks, Cindy. Thanks, everybody. I'm trying to set up my music account. Not sure how to do all this. Your music account on Twitch? Shine anyway? Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Don't be afraid. Just build it on. I built this on the fly. Molly's good, although she's a little unnerved, I think, by Captain Shenanigans over there. All right. So where were we? Oh, yes. So that all spun from this lovely lady, Prometta Giucapini. I almost clicked on my this guy. Sorry, that guy right there. Prometta Giucapini. She joined us today. All right, or she left us today. But she was 105. Good hanging on. Oh no. Hey, okay. This I need to look at because I missed this exchange, but I'm curious. Okay. Senator asks Facebook safety chief to end Finsta. She explains it's slang. We commit to ending Finsta. We don't do Finsta. What Finsta refers to is young people setting up accounts where they want to have more privacy. Ghost accounts. We don't. Okay. I was leaning towards Blumenthal and the concept of old fart doesn't get techno speak thing. But I'm going to go with Facebook safety chief defending a situation where minors can set up multiple accounts, specifically ones that their parents can't see. And that's what that's about, which leads to all kinds of awful, I have no doubt. So ghost accounts by teenagers. And then let's extrapolate this out from what we actually know about how Facebook has been acting over the last couple of years and recognize in many ways, this is just like soft peat to throw the seeds of fake accounts from, Russia and Macedonia and what have you, right? Because if kids can do that, kids can set up secondary BS accounts to talk about whatever they want, then that means anybody can make one. If a minor can do it, they're not checking shit. So her saying we don't do Finsta, you don't know, we know you don't do it, you're not a minor, you allow it. Will you commit to not allowing it? I think is the key here. Oops. If I move this, maybe I would put it there. That works. That'll give me a slightly bigger thing to work with. So I'm not gonna, and then I gotta move my name, this guy. Sigbug. Shrink it for the sake of the morning show. Move this out of the way. There you go. Hey, goofball. Are you playing with the light now? Okay. Now he's just sitting on the floor licking himself. He's right there. He's down there. What are you doing? What are you doing? Kids today. All right, so Dink. Facebook's scary to me. Makes everything. Look, social media is a version of being in public, and a lot of people have turned Facebook in particular into their own like trailer park eyes wide shut party, where they get to be however awful they want as long as they're wearing a mask. Nobody knows. Facebook prioritizes greed over children's health. That's what they're talking about. The Instagram, so yeah. Finsta is slang for a fake account. Yes, ending fake accounts. And saying it in a way, all right. I'm going to call, I know, people know it's not an official Instagram product or service. What they're talking about is the trend of it. It's not Finsta.com. This is becoming one of those like old person doesn't understand the cool new hip thing. Like that's all right. Like I said, I was on the side of maybe making fun of Blumenthal, who I like, for a moment because he's, are the kids using the Mary J? Or are they? I understand they're on the pot now. That kind of language. But in reality, she's obfuscating this is bullshit. So I turned a corner. Now, oh God, why is Rudy? Is it more about him just... Have Friday owners not been caught up in the shade with Rudy Giuliani? Story about the law firm Rudy Giuliani hired for Ukraine. You need a law firm, but the firm stayed away and then hired Pierce, Bainbridge, Beck, Price, and Hecht, LLP. It's not limited by how many people are in it. Jesus, is everybody a partner at that fucking thing? This firm is run by Rudy's close friend, John Pierce. It would have to be. Okay, Lithgow came in. I love Lithgow. Under oath, Rudy Giuliani reveals baseless origins of Trump big lie claims. Yeah, he thought he read it on Facebook, but maybe not. Rachel's been covering this pretty great over the last little bit. In a sworn deposition, Rudy Giuliani admits under oath that he got his evidence that the election was stolen by browsing through Facebook. I mean, he won't go to jail for this, but he could, this in and of itself is reason for him to be disbarred. Oh, because he shaves in public, I guess, is the idea. I can't tell you how much I love John Lithgow. And I mean, I've always enjoyed his work. I mean, from, was it Raising Cain to Buckaroo Banzai, of course. And, but his performance in the world according to GARP, for everybody who thinks that this generation invented the acceptance and the recognition of transgender people and what they go through and how people react and interact with them, and how it's a learning curve for people who are not who've not experienced someone like that, and the flexibility that those people have to go through to be either understanding or just be overwhelmed. Lithgow in The World According to GARP is beautiful, just beautiful as a character. And on the other side of the spectrum, former prosecutors say Rudy Giuliani is in an excruciating legal predicament thanks to a web of overlapping federal investigations, and that he could very well flip. He's going to have to. He's got nothing. Rudy Giuliani is probably screwed. Thanks, New York Magazine. Probably. He's a mess. And all of his stuff, I mean, he's going to have to admit that, like, on camera in some situation, either in court. Like, if I was, let's say he decides to flip. Let's just roll that out. And he, Rudy Giuliani, pictured here, decides he's going to flip. There's a real strong chance that, if I were the judge, I would require that he, in court, admit that his source for the big lie was unvetted, that he got it off of social media, he ran with it with no recognition, with no understanding of the damage he could do or whatever, and that he knew it was not a legitimate source. He did not check. He did not do his due diligence as an officer of the court. Yes, and Dexter. Yes, he was fantastic on Dexter. If Fox News banned Giuliani for spreading the big lie, why isn't Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, and Laura Ingraham been banned? I know why. I know why, David. Ad rev. Geetus. Cabbage. Breaking: Supreme Court of New York has dismissed the lawsuit against Rudy Giuliani. Sought records of communications with Rudy Giuliani, 12 other individuals, as well as any communications about former ousted U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, and other topics. Oh, he's so done. So done. So done. Fox News is gone. He's lost his license right. Big win for Rudy Giuliani. This is yeah, I mean, he's fine now. This and by the way, anytime you see, just so you know, Bernie Carrick is the only person posting this, right? Except like fake MAGA accounts. Anytime you see, an indictment comes down about Trump, the Trump organization, Giuliani, anybody related to that, any bad news for, Jim Jordan, any of that stuff, what you'll see is an immediate jump to spin it in social media and spread this kind of like, samey same, 0-0. Yeah, Cameo could save him. Yeah. Oh, if Rudy Giuliani decided to plead not guilty by reason of I'll tell you later. Hi, John. Then and promised to pay-per-view his trial, he'd be a rich man. He'd be a rich man in jail, but he'd be a rich man drinking agua belva. This is the running thing about him being kicked off of Fox News, which we've known for a couple days. It just circles back around. Texas teen walks free after running over 6 cyclists, but DA hints at possible charges. Yeah, this kid, for those of you who don't know, he was it's like coal dusting or some shit, where you drive by and you blast them with exhaust. You blast the bikers with exhaust from your truck. And he did that to a group of bikers, and then you basically have to swerve near them and then speed off, and that's what creates the exhaust. And he tried that on a second group of bikers and hit them. Roll coal, thank you. Yeah, he was trying to roll coal. Thank you. And he hit 6 of them. And then he got out and says, do you think I'm going to jail? And everybody's saying, and he walks away or whatever. He hasn't walked away. They're working on, they're going to file charges. They're going to indict him. Like, look at the front of the truck. All 6 of those people are going to sue him, his family, the owner of the truck, the blah, blah, blah. Like, it's, and I believe 3 of them were injured really seriously. And 3, let's see. Police interviewed the teen, but let him go from the scene without charges, which is just, that's the nutty part. They let him go at the scene, but because they know where he is and he's a minor, and they're gonna, they didn't want to take him to juvie or some shit. Tipped in case, but on Facebook, when the possible charges could soon come down, they will. Thank you all for the post regarding the bicyclists that were run over on Saturday morning. Your comments, even the less than flattering ones, have been instructive to this office and how prevalent the problem of rolling coal is, not only in Waller County, but across the nation. Rolling coal, when a person is in the vicinity and when the individual rolling coal intentionally or unknowingly causes that excess exhaust to contact the bystander, is at a minimum an assault. Well, that's it. All right. Well, they're going there. At a minimum, an assault. And then, of course, obviously, hitting them afterwards. So it was 2 counts of assault on each person. But all of these headlines all say walks free. He hasn't been charged yet. They're talking about charges, but this is where you get into a real problem with like clickbait. News headlines where they have to fight so hard for viewership that they'll just say friggin' anything. Thank you, Stamp and Stitch. You've seen The Uninvited with Ray Milland and Ruth Hussey. I don't know that I have. Watched Lithgow's Winston Churchill in The Crown. I have. Summer liked The Crown a lot. I watched it with her. Mariah, thank you. And thanks for the new follow. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thumbs up. I'm not even doing much of that stuff in the morning show. People will figure it out. We're hanging around. But this is like technically true while incorrect. Yeah, they're saying walking free because he wasn't arrested on the spot, which is, even as you said, odd. I agree. It is odd that he was allowed to leave the scene either with his parent or in the car or something after it happened. He claimed it was an accident, right? He didn't intentionally run them down. He was intentionally rolling coal on them, but he was not intentionally trying to hit them. So it was an accident. They viewed him at the scene. They serving the other people. They got him the hell out of there. They got his license, all of his stuff. They're going to, cite him and all that kind of stuff later, right? But the idea is that he walks free. This phrase is meant to make you think that there was a trial and they let him go. Yeah, small town cops. They know where he is. They know him. They know they can go get him. If they let him go and go, pick him up from his house later on, there's the less chance of violence in this case in small towns like this than, you took my son. It was an accident, right? He's a child. That's what they're trying. That's the difficulty in that situation. They'll charge. He's going to get charged. But this walks free sounds like he beat a rap or something. There has not been a rap yet. So we see this a bunch. Vermont and Bernie are both trending. There are. This is the whole how many senators people have. I mean, we've been talking about this for years. The fact that these states don't share a senator amongst them is ridiculous. After California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill making universal mail voting permanent, this cartogram shows that 1/5 of Americans now live in vote-by-mail states. All of those states except Vermont are in the western U.S., where 83% of people are now residents of vote-by-mail states. What's this supposed to be? Oh, look, the COVID-19 hospitalization rate. Is this supposed to be a gotcha? You do realize a lot of these states, the northern states, have a lot of Trump voters and Republicans and folks like that. They're the ones going to, and this is a percentage rise, I have no doubt. They're the ones going to the hospital. Let's see. Let's see National Review. Hospitalization rates in the northern states are increasing. Oh, look. So it's meant to be like, gotcha. Maine, 22% increase, 14-day change. Hospitalizations are 18. Pennsylvania, 25 per 100,000, 19% increase. North Dakota. There are people in North Dakota that have stickers on their trucks that say the South will rise again. Montana. Yeah, that's a northern state. I think of that as a northern state. 17% increase, 40. Look at the rate per 100,000 people. Maine, Pennsylvania, 1825. North Dakota and Montana, total Trump states, by the way, 32-42. Vermont, 17% increase. West Virginia, hey Joe, 16% increase. West Virginia, again, 24% of the people in West Virginia voted for Joe Biden. Right? Bless you, Stamp. Thank you. 24% of the people in the state that Joe Manchin represents voted for Joe Biden. Just mull that around. And then look at these assholes, calling this a northern state, and understand that in particular that it's only that there's 60 people per 100,000, and that's only a 16% rise compared to the greater jump, 22% rise at 18, for example, means that there's more people in there that are sick. Minnesota, 11, Wisconsin. Yeah, it's increasing in all the red districts of these places. Some of these states have Republican governors. You think? Some of them have Democratic governors. Some of these states have big cities. Some are more rural. Some of these states enacted stricter regulation because of the pandemic, and some have looser ones. So what do these have in common? They're all in the northern half of the country. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? The Delta wave has already swept through the South and is now receding. Many southern states still have fairly high hospitalization rates per 100,000. North Carolina is at 30, Florida is at 31, Texas 37, South Carolina is 4. But these states' hospitalization rates are all decreasing compared to 2 weeks ago. North Carolina is down 11%, Florida is down 39%, 22%. Yeah, of a way higher number and a consistent level. Again, this is, the juggling to just try and make it look like they're not fuck-ups is amazing. And the fact that they have to include, North Dakota and Montana and Idaho and Iowa in many ways, and Wyoming in their categories. Who in the fuck thought? It's the Southern mentality, my friend. It's not the Manson-Nixon line, that's where it stops. It's the people. And every state has these people in it. And in every state, the people that are dying are Trump supporters, are the voting bloc. So if you take anything away, folks on the right, from this list that the National Review flippantly puts up online, is that this is not a gotcha towards Democratic governors. This is a fuck you to their voters in those states. these people in Maine. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Maine, Trump versus Biden vote. Let's see what the final what's on it. There are 360,737 people who voted for Trump in Maine. Biden won the state by 435,072, 53 to 44%. But 44% of the state of Maine are Trump voters. And National Review is dunking on those people. The National Review is dunking on Trump voters in Maine who are dying. You stay classy, National Review. So, okay, and this is the Bernie. Is this because of the 52? Yeah. So, Tim Pool. Go away. 2 senators cannot be allowed to defeat what 48 senators and 210 House members want. We must stand with working families in our country. We must combat climate change. We must delay passing the infrastructure bill until we pass a strong reconciliation bill. If you can't, if you cannot, not you should, and Manchin and Sinema. Yeah, agreed. They should be on board, but they aren't. With that, should you assert that Sinema and Manchin get to destroy the infrastructure bill just to prove your point? Are you going to run next year on we burned the whole thing down rather than, I mean, like, this isn't about the ethics or morals or whether, Sinema should be more forthcoming about what she wants from it or any of that shit. I'm talking about the actual. Because, I mentioned before, Nancy Pelosi could pass it in the House, the infrastructure bill, with Republican votes. But she doesn't, she's not doing it, in my opinion, so that it doesn't decimate the progressive caucus, undermine them essentially, and make them irrelevant in that regard, and make it look like she's siding with Republicans. But she could do it. You think Sinema's going to switch parties? Or you think she might go independent?
Hello.
Hi.
Go ahead.
I wasn't saying anything.
I'm not sure I understand.
I know. My Siri just misunderstood me for a second. So let's hash this out as adults. Let's talk about this for a second. Let's talk about this as grown-ups. Let's look at, okay, what's in the $3.5 trillion bill? Seems so weird. Here you go. All right. What's actually in it? This is the what's in this, and then we'll talk about the infrastructure part. Because the $3.5 trillion bill is opposed by Republicans, Democrats are trying to enact it through reconciliation. We know this. The 10-year Build Back Better Act would fund everything from free community college to expand Medicare. Not now. Here are some of the major items in the bill. 2 free years of community college. For everyone. Right? Anybody wants it. I don't think it is not currently means tested, meaning that rich people can't get their, ne'er-do-well son in a 2-year community college. They have to pay for it. price of 2 years of community college. Okay, it's about $5,000 per citizen. Is the idea. These are in-state tuitions, assuming you go to a community college in your actual community. The general price, let's see. Here you go. Average cost community college. Okay. Average cost community college attendance is $7,460, a total $1,865 per semester. Tuition alone for in-district community college attendance averages $3,400. For out-of-state students, average is $82. The average total annual cost to attend any two-year institution is $10,300, which is broad because that includes vocational academies, which are really expensive compared to just regular community college getting a certificate in something. Private two-year institutions charge an average of $15,000. In-state tuition on a public four-year institution is $9,300. So that's in-state tuition at a public four-year institution is $9,300. Average total annual cost. Okay, so we're looking at $20,000 for that. All right. It's a little off in how they're describing it. The annual tuition at a private two-year institution can be as high as $25,000. That's the top end of it. Okay. In California, it's $1,300. In the Northeast, it's more expensive in the $5,000 zone. 4 over here. Texas, it's 2.3. Now look at the cost of it and how it varies across the country. And then like New Mexico, for example, it's 1.7. In Arizona being $2,200. So the question is, if somebody's going, and this is, you factor in that states have incentives in their own, education systems to kind of cut that cost for certain people, certain degrees, that kind of stuff. So it's not the same for everybody. I wish they would stop calling this bill progressive when it's literally just giving us some of the stuff most countries have already. Not most countries. Most Western countries. Most European countries. Not most countries by any stretch of the imagination. Just for the record, just to clarify. Most European countries, largely with the exception of Russia, I suppose, most Northern European countries. That's that. So, or some semblance therein. And basically, they just added 2 more years of high school. That's what they're talking about. Optional 2 more years of high school. Why isn't a bill that helps us progressive? It isn't. This isn't. I don't even know why this would be progressive versus liberal versus regular Democrat or what have you. It's an extension of the public schooling system. That's what this is. Oh, yes. Hi. Oh, he's sleeping in the corner. He's sleeping right there. Hi, buddy. He's just going to sleep over in the corner. Yeah. He's just curled up in a ball in the corner on the floor. Just likes hanging out. So, this is why state to state let's see, let's check Vermont, shall we? Whoops, that was Virginia, sorry. Let's scroll down. In-state tuition for Vermont on average is $6,610. 13 if you come into the state from somewhere else. 4-year public institutions annual in-state tuition fees total 16. So, in Bernie Sanders' state, in-state tuition for average community college in Vermont is let's see, look at Arizona, is 3 times what it is in Arizona. Let's consider this. Let's think about this for a second. So Vermont will get federal assistance paying for the cost of in-state tuition. Now, is that a baseline? Will the federal governments be funding these average community colleges, or will they be paying the going rate in any given state? Because if that's the case, then Kristen Sinema's state, and this is not me defending her, I'm just using her as an example of where the conflict might be. Kristen Sinema's state will get $2,220 per student in support from the federal government automatically. Uncle Sam writes a check, American tax dollars, and in Arizona, anybody who wants to go to community college, the state will get $2,220 to educate that person. In Vermont will get $6,000. Vermont will get 3 times as much money as Arizona does in this deal. It will get 1,000 more than Virginia. It will get 2,000 more than Washington State and West Virginia. It will get 2,000 more than Manchin State. It will get double what Wyoming is getting. This is the committee part. You know, they always talk about the per student, right? So, you know, this is what happens in committee. When things go through markup and they're talking about this and what has and has not been done. There's only 4 community colleges in Vermont with lower population. The state will receive that money and dole it out and take over those community colleges effectively in the financing of them if the federal government is now in charge of them. Now, that's the other question. Free community college for everyone who wants it. What if your state is a high population state and there are not enough community colleges? Is the federal government going to build community colleges in those areas? I mean, it's not something I'm against. You know, I view it, like I said, as in many ways, a vocational extension of high school. 2 years of shop class, basically, so you can have a hands-on job, or an expansion point for students who are falling behind. Right? I'm certain. Let's see. All I'm certain of is Americans are in desperate need of more education, to be sure. This is optional, though. This is not adding 2 years to high school. Technically, this is, you can, you know, you can go there. You don't have to. They expand or make satellite campuses. Right. Perhaps. No. Steve. They have no such thing. And goodbye. This is, hold on one second. Now I've got it. Now we got to do cleanup for real. I mean, it's, you know, when they're dopey, it's one thing. But let me see. Here we go. Let me go into the control room. Because I don't know what we have in the way of mods today. Jumping into the live. Oh, why am I not listed on that? That's weird. Okay, let me try and reload it. Yeah, here we go. Thank you. You unlock control room. YouTube is being very strong, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, we can straight kick someone for that permanently, because you know, no, you don't get to spew anti-vax nonsense from Australia. I think that's Australia, right? Or he's from Massholio, right? Got it. Thank you. So, I mean, this is part of what you're, you know, what usually comes up in committee and why there are arguments between senators, and you're like, well, I don't know what the hell their problem is, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so in the average cost of community college, and it will not be means tested according to this current bill, meaning rich people, poor people, all get free community college. whether you can afford to pay for it or not, you gotta pay for it. Or sorry, the government will pay for it. It will pick it up. If somebody wants to learn to become a hedge fund manager and they do 2 years of community college taking economics so they can up their grades to go to an Ivy League school, and then they end up, running the next Enron, it's on the taxpayer's tit, is the idea. Means testing it has been fought for a long time. I'm not quite sure why. Anyone who is making over $100,000 a year, for example, who has money to sit to some degree and go to community can invest in community college for this. And by the way, when they do this and watch for the pigs at the trough, there will be an online community college boom, because you don't have to be there on campus. Why do I physically have to be there? From the ADA to COVID rules to my own emotional safety, there are 100 reasons why I want to do it virtually. And therefore, Arizona State University, this might be a selling point for Kristen Sinema, can just make an online community college that you get for free. Right? Let's make the line even higher. Uncle Joe says 400K. I agree. Yeah, make it 400,000. But they're not putting any of it. Then there's no, currently, right? It has not been marked up. And that's the other thing, is that the Democrats, the Progressive Caucus, is wanting to force the $3.5 trillion package through before it has been officially marked up with its final version. So they want to pass it into the Senate, and then they'll start adding and subtracting stuff and see if they can get it passed in the House. And they know they can get it passed no matter what's in it. The Senate's not going to bounce it back to them if they're just going to sign off on it. And and what they will do is sign off on everything, because it's the only way the progressives will vote for it, is the idea. So they know that if they can get a vote for it into the Senate, they can put genuinely anything in there. In theory, if there might be, and then we go into the 10 Democrats that are seen as centrists. Now they're the ones holding it up, like, oh, we had to wait through Kristen Sinema and Manchin, and now we got to deal with these assholes. That's how it's going to be, right? 100,000 isn't much income if you live in San Francisco. Agreed. I mean, it's environmental to that. I mean, obviously, you can, if you have to live in San Francisco where you go to that community college is, for example. But most people who are doing this are either, they're getting, if they're young, I mean, there's community college scholarships and offsets and stuff like that all over the place. There's financial aid available that puts it off, and that is not taking on $16,000 worth of debt for a career is not unheard of if it's functional. The problem is if you're going to community college for, poetry, and scuba studies, it's not going to pay you. It's not going to pay off. So you're basically, it's an adventure academy that the state is paying for, is eventually is part of the pushback. So, and again, let's put aside for a second the righteous indignation of the existence of it at all, and go, is it practical, and are we hearing the actual argument that's going back and forth in the Congress besides the stuff that people walk out to a microphone and say, right? Sorry, I hit little bunny fuck in your head, right? Little bunny F you. So 2 years of free community college for all students, regardless of family income. It is not means tested, meaning that if Jeff Bezos wants to send his kid to community college for 2 years after high school, it's on the taxpayer. It costs $108 billion. The bill would also add $80 billion in funding for Pell Grants, which Democrats haven't kept pace with the increasing cost of college. This makes more sense to me than this could be dropped to $60 billion. This right here, just by means testing it at $400,000, right? Give him his cash back, I'll recover it, right? Yeah? He could buy a college. Absolutely. But he could afford to buy an entire college, but he could send his kid to, and we all have public school, but they basically want to add 2 years of public school. That's what's being talked about. So, and it is not means tested. So anybody goes all across the board. It is not about how much money you make. even $1 million a year. Like, set a ridiculous limit. Right? Nobody would, but nobody needs to. And we're not going to budget for people who have over $1 million, in net income every year, to do that. So did they also restart the Peace Corps? I don't think so. Okay, childcare and universal pre-K. This is the most expensive and one of the most crucial in some ways and controversial on some points, and I'll run you through that. Every family that applies shall be offered childcare assistance for children 0 to 5. Every family that applies shall be offered childcare assistance. This is weird wording, but okay. A child ages 0 to 5. In all, the plan allocates roughly $450 billion to lower the cost of childcare and provide 2 years of universal pre-K for 3 to 4 year olds, according to the House Education and Labor Committee. Now, the universal pre-K, there's a question. Is this just going to be added to elementary schools? Now, I mean, the practicality of this, right? Are we building preschools with this? Which is, I mean, cool, whatever. I just don't know what it provides that $450 billion for. I love the idea of universal pre-K. And again, what they're basically, what this bill is, and so far, is adding 2 years to the end of school and 2 years to the beginning. Why means test? Be nice about it. Because it's budgeted in and it's the cost. So you're allocating funds to it. So you're assuming that you're putting $50 million or $50 billion extra onto this, the cost of this bill that never has to be used. And that's money that could go elsewhere. It's unnecessary. It could go towards disaster relief and all kinds of other things. We don't need to add to the debt so that people who make over $400,000 a year can send their kid to someplace that costs less than the camp they send them to every year. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Isn't public television enough? Right. Universal pre-K is a great idea, but it should include daycare centers. Well, that's what the child care part is. This is the offered child care assistance, which means paying for daycare, funding for daycare, like giving you a tax credit or money specifically that the government pays you to put your kid in childcare while you're at work. That's what that part is. The second part is pre-K, when they're starting to get preschool. Studies have shown in a bunch of places that the benefits of pre-K flatten out at grade 3 without having corresponding quality of education from third grade up. Doesn't matter how much pre-K in 3 and 4 you've had if your school sucks and it peters out at third grade. So this must accompany respect to our teachers and more generalized funding for schools to even out those jokes. Yes, Vienna. All right, so Medicare expansion. Okay, this heavily debated provision would expand Medicare to include coverage of dental, hearing, and vision services. Manchin believes the program's solvency should be addressed before it's expanded. We need to stabilize it, he told reporters. By 2026, you understand the trust fund is going to be insolvent. Here's what I would say, and they don't have a number in this. They don't have what the cost of that's also where it gets weird. We know there's $108 billion for community college, right? We know this. It's in there. Yeah. $80 billion for Pell Grants. Okay. Chalk that shit up, right? Put that on in the till. $450 to lower the cost of childcare, which is subsidizing it, giving everybody the same amount of money. It won't go as far in every place, blah, blah, blah. And people aren't going to want to send their kids to the same place. So if you're going to send them to a Montessori school, if you want to send them all the way to Santa Barbara every day, if you want to send them to the Montessori school, that's going to cost you way more, obviously, than the place I sent my kid, which was fantastic. I'm not going to talk about because privacy. But it was, you know, there were two things in my neighborhood that I could have chosen from. One was in a house, and it was kind of a more personal thing. Then there was one that was slightly more like a school. We went to the school like one for his pre-K, and it was expensive. You know, that was coming up with that regularly was rough, but I felt it benefited him. This subsidy would have not shaved off much of the cost of that at all, I'm guessing. But it doesn't really say what it is per person, right? They can get some funding for Medicare by stopping subsidies to manage Medicare. Yeah, there's a lot of shuffling that has to go around. Yeah. The panel estimated this would keep the cost of childcare at or below 7% of most families' income. So it's that's a pretty decent goal. I guess their panel who went over it. Okay. Medicare expansion. I'm going to have to download this whole friggin' thing and read it myself by this afternoon. Medicare expansion. This heavily debated provision was dental, That part they don't have a number for, and I don't know why. Extended child tax credit. Okay. Democrats expand the child tax credit to 2021 in their $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan, and now want to extend it through 2025. Now, let me tell you, this part does not have to be in this bill. It does not, because by by the time we roll around to next year and we start going through the midterms, Democrats are going to want to talk about making this permanent. This is it's going to last through next year. So Democrats would be better off putting this in the fight as an individual thing in the midterms next year. We want to make the child tax credit free, and they'll have to fight it, because there's going to be a bunch of people going, why do you want the state to pay people to have babies, right? While they're trying to stop abortions. It's so weird. It's so weird. Under the enhancement, families receive $3,600 per child under age 6 and $3,000 per child 6 to 18. Most families receive monthly payments of either $250 or $300 per child. This is already. So already, this exists. That's that. Once you get to pre-K, once you get childcare, and then $300 in most rural and regional areas. Ironically, in the red states, they've never seen this kind of money for childcare before. The pro-lifers have never seen a situation where they can afford to feed their kid a little better, have decent clothes. I never saw anything close to this when I was growing up in Peaks Mill. I had a blue ticket for lunch that everybody laughed at because we were on assistance. Right? Democrats need to take the fucking gloves off. No, Northwestern Star, I'm trying to tell you guys, there's no fight there. This is not a fight. This is a policy disagreement over details. This whole I gotta fight, it has no meaning. You can only fight with someone who's in a ring with you, and you can only fight with someone who isn't impervious to your punches, which in the case of Sinema, she seems to be entirely, and Manchin very possibly. 24% of people in Joe Manchin's state voted for Biden. The rest of them voted for Trump. His voters, him representing his state, they don't want this. Democratically, 75 to 25, right? The languaging around fighting is silly. What we need to do is look at these details and go, how do you actually build this into something that's palatable to as many people as possible, and then you need it to land further so that you can get more of what you need. And then as people see these things are successful, then they start building on them, right? Right now, half of rural America thinks public school is indoctrination camps. You think they're going to want 2 extra years of government education or 2 years of pre-K where they think they're going to teach them critical race theory? They're lunatics. All right, so let's keep looking at this, though. It's good. You know more about this than most people right now. We're going through this. The full expanded child tax credit is available to individuals making up to $75,000 or married couples making up to $150,000. Which is, let's see, how many people in America make less than $75,000 a year? So let's look at income distribution. This is 2019. Here we go. And you'll see where they get their statistics in this. All right. So, and when you're talking about the upper 1% and yada yada, that's a bifurcation of this last bar. 10% of the country make over $200,000 a year. You got 150 to 199 make about 8%. 100,000, 149 in this group. And this is this is household income too. So this is, people, mixed together. But let's just take this bar and let's see. This bar to the left. Technically it's this one and lower on individuals. So these folks right here. And you're talking about 55%, 54% of the population. 54. There it is. Look at that. Hey. A little more than 54% of Americans had an annual income household income, by the way. A couple people. Less than 75,000. The median household income decreased for the first time in 5 years in 2020. We knew that. That has a lot to do with this. Income and wealth. After the economic recession 2009, income inequality in the U.S. is more prominent across many metropolitan areas. The Northeast region is regarded as one of the wealthiest in the country. Maryland, New Jersey, Massachusetts were among the states with the highest median household income. In terms of income by race and ethnicity, the average income of Asian households was $94,903 while the median income for Black households was around half of that figure. So the highest household incomes are Asian people in the United States. They have a mean of 94. Average for Black households is somewhere in the order of 40 to 50. Poverty threshold. So the average poverty threshold for a family of 4 people was $26,695 US in 2020, which is around $798 US dollars more than the previous year. There were an estimated 37 million people in poverty across the United States in 2020, which was around 11% of the population. Of that 11%, 19% were Black, 8.2% were white. Of the 11%. So we're, again, these numbers seem to stack. They don't. They dissolve into each other. Of the 11%, under 20% are Black, 8.2% are white. But okay, and then let's see. I don't know what it doesn't seem to list the other one. Poverty income, poverty rate in the United States. There we go. 8, 10. There we go. This is, shaboing. Thanks, 2008. And then 2008, it was going down to here. Then it goes back up to there because of the whole thing. Then it goes down to here. Now it's going back up slightly, but it's still nowhere near. It's at the bottom of what it was in 2000. As far as the poverty rate in the United States is at one of its lowest in the last, 30 years. I happen to think the poverty rate of the idea of 4 people at $26,000 is kind of crazy. Well, my light blinked. Hello. Yes, Lord. But there you go. Just filling in the blanks. You can't work 3 jobs and take care of your kids. Exactly. And that's, it goes back to the whole Bush thing. She got 3 jobs. That's uniquely American. Well, it fucking shouldn't be. It's uniquely embarrassing that we have to have that. While Mr. Biden has touted the tax credits and lifting children out of poverty, Manchin thinks Democrats' social spending packages should impose work requirements for parents who qualify, especially if they're getting a child tax credit and child care and the like. That there is an argument to be made for a work requirement if indeed you're getting free child care, pre-K, and universal pre-K, and that. If that's part of it, if that's the trade-off, fine, because people with disabilities aren't going to have that problem. It's just going to be anybody who can work should, right? And if you have and then add paid family leave to it, so that if they have a toddler, they can be closer to it. I'm just saying. See, we look at us talking about a bill like we're in the actual Congress. You want to help the children and the parents that are basically providing for these children. There's no work requirements whatsoever. There's no education requirements whatsoever for better skill sets. Don't you think if we're going to help the children that the people should make some effort? Agreed. If they can, yes. If they can't, no. And that's the issue. And there's got to be a way to work that out. Also, again, the child. It's not a child's fault that they are born to an idiot or an addict. Cut prescription drug prices. Okay, another key provision is aimed at helping to slash prescription drug prices. Americans on average pay 2 to 3 times as much people in the other country. Yeah, right. Among other things, the legislation allows Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Medicare is currently prohibited by law from negotiating the best deal. This has been a standalone everybody's been trying for a long time. Apparently, I mean, and this is oddly enough, this might be the single thing stopping Kristen Sinema. I suppose some relation to the theory that Manchin's daughter and medical devices being what they are, that he might have a dog in this fight as well. But this is something that even Trump ran on and touted for a long time and then just bullshitted his way around like his magical exit from Afghanistan. Paid family leave, medical leave. Okay. First time in U.S. history, U.S. would have a comprehensive paid leave covering 12 weeks of paid leave, medical leave. Again, something that Trump and them and everybody is run on at some point or another. $225 billion over the next 10 years. Legislation will replace at least 2/3 of earnings up to $4,000 per month, while the lowest paid workers would receive 80% of their income. Gotcha. So you could take 3 months off and it provided with $12,000. And this stacks too. So $12,000 in this, the idea, you got a new kid, $12,000 over 3 months, 90 days of, 12 weeks. So, and that's per month. Okay. So yeah, so basically 3 months. We'll just call it a wash at 3 months. A little under, but, you've got $4,000 a month, the $250 to $300 child tax credit, because the idea is that you would receive the child tax credit. You could arguably get it when you're not working, right? While you're off from your job, or is that rolled into that? Is it both? And then, of course, your child care, if you need a babysitter or I guess some sort of child care, this is when you're not working. So you are the child care. So does this slightly cut into what the expense would be for childcare because someone's home personally to stay with their kid is the idea? Right? Okay. Has previously estimated the plan would cost $225 over the next 10 years. Again, we are missing a bunch of numbers in this, and I don't like this guy right here. It's in there, is the idea that it's financially carbon neutral, right? There's no expenditure, it just makes it a law, possibly, right? And then we get to climate change. Okay, combating climate change, slowing the rate in which the Earth warms will mean transition away from fossil fuels, major source of greenhouse. Okay. One provision that Manchin is object to is $150 billion in Clean Electricity Performance Program, which would pay utility companies to increase their renewable sources by 4% per year. It's a subsidy. It's a business subsidy, and people who are against those all of a sudden on principle. Companies that do not hit this benchmark would face financial penalties. That's the part that probably they want stripped out. The bill also provides significant funding for forest management and other wildfire control measures. Okay. Again, this is a fascinating part of it. I don't know. That's that, and provides significant. What's the significant funding? What's the fucking number? What's the number? Put it in there. So, and if you increase your renewable energy supplies by 4% every year, what are we making back and what we don't have to clean up? There's a trade-off in that $150 billion that we're paying out to some of these companies to do that, because we're not having to to clean up messes that cost us billions and billions, or the medical impacts beyond the climate. The pollution impacts alone are worth that $150 billion over 10 years. There are also measures to incentivize the buying of electric vehicles and the construction of charging stations, which, by the way, we gave these to oil companies for decades. It's flipping the switch. It's the same corporate subsidy. It's just going to something that's better. Here you go. The lesser known provisions. This is exciting. The massive bill has a slew of lesser known provisions as well. For instance, the bill would authorize $5 million a year for the Small Business Administration for an entrepreneurial program for formerly incarcerated individuals. So if you know a serial rapist who's let out of jail early by a Texas judge, he can stroll right up to the SBA. I'm kidding. The bill also directs. I hope there's a sort of crime limit on the SBA loans. Like I get job skill training or something like that. All right. Are we really going to give SBA loans to murderers? Without at least buy a nice new headstone for the person they killed. This is part of our "he had it coming anyways" fund. The bill also directs $2.5 billion for the Justice Department to award competitive grants or contracts to local governments, community-based organizations, and other groups to support intervention strategies to reduce community violence. Now, okay, this is going to be a hang-up as well, but it's a pittance by comparison. In terms of if something gets struck, this will be one of them. Because statistically, they don't work. I wish they did, but so far, none of these intervention campaigns have actually borne fruit better than jobs programs and better schools and security and those kind of things. I wish they did, but they don't. I wish they could, but they don't. I've read some of the advocate papers on these things, and I was like, yeah, but they don't. Dude, I never said anything remotely hate speech, no censoring, free speech, bro. Respect. No, you're not. It's not about hate speech. You are doing vaccine disinformation. You're a liar, and you will go. Bye. Let's go this. Let's see. Hold on. I'll just do it this way. Boink. I have to know for sure you're an American before I give you the rights of free speech. I wouldn't want to do it against the will of your own country. If you can't say what you're saying in your own country, you can't say it on mine. How's that? Unless you're Chinese and talking through a VPN and you know who you are. Let's see. Okay, so how they're going to pay for it? Yes, corporate tax rate will go up 5%. Income tax rate for people over $400,000 will go up 2.6%, and the top capital gains rate will go up 5%. It is. These are minimal tweaks, and these are the ask too. So if they went through, the final policy on this and ended up, 21% dropped down to 23%, it's still going to cover it. Because a lot of this money isn't going to be spent. It's allocated out of expected income coming in. Democrats are looking to beef up tax enforcement. Right, they have to. The Joint Committee on Taxation estimates tax changes spearheaded by the Democrats would raise more than $2 trillion in revenue over 20 years, with roughly $1 trillion in tax increases for my income and $1 trillion for corporate and international tax reforms. So you're going to bring in $4 trillion with this bill, and the bill itself is estimated to cost $3.5 trillion. By the way, it won't cost that. They keep calling it the 3.5. I don't know whether it'll get there or not, but it's not going to cost that. Because you've got a bunch of people, like the non-means testing part of it. there's literally millions of people who are not going to take advantage of it or are going to pay for a better school on their own or go someplace else. And there are millions of Americans that just breeze by community college anyways and go straight to university. And the Pell Grants thing will be something that they use. Which, by the way, which is why I think these numbers should be flip-flopped. Honestly. But yeah, so there we go. Look at us doing like schoolwork and shit. Now I want to see. Let's see. Do they have it? Yeah. Do they link the bill anywhere? I don't. That's so weird. You know what I mean? But again, to all the Bernie stands in there's not 2 senators defeating what 48 senators want. There's 52 senators defeating what 48 want. And that 68% of Americans want. And the weird part is that of those 52, 17 of them will vote for the infrastructure bill. Which is why he won't pass this until this happens, because the two will have to do it by reconciliation. It's just like there's not a single Republican's going to vote for it, so stop pretending. Let's see. Text of $3.5 trillion bill. Is it? Yeah. Oh, I want the text. Sorry. Mistype. That's my bad. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Good morning. Okay. Democrats really unveiled the full text. Here it is. HR something or something. That we something. There's a lot of this. Forestry is the first thing out of the gate. Restoration fuels reduction. That's funny. Well done. Well played, Nancy Pelosi, putting that at the front to mess with all the, we need to sweep these forests. Here it is. So this is the actual money that's in here. Appropriations. In addition to the amounts, see, it didn't even say how much it was in here. $10 billion for hazardous fuels reduction projects within the wildland-urban interface, which means cleaning up brush areas around those areas, sweeping the forests, but creating, removing dry brush and stuff close to residential areas. $4 billion on a determination by the Secretary that hazardous fuels within the wildland area have been effectively treated to prevent at-risk communities that are a non-commercial in nature, except on a determination by the Secretary in accordance with the best available science that the harvest of merchantable materials is ecologically necessary for restoration and enhanced ecological integrity. Oh yes, $4 billion for wood reclamation. That people don't just pilfer dead trees for, to make awful things like guitars, right? It's collaboratively developed, carried out. It's $4 billion to manage this. $1 billion for vegetation management projects carried out solely on National Forest System land that the Secretary shall select following the receipt of proposals submitted in accordance with subsections A, B, and C of 4003 of the Omnibus Public Land Management Act of 2009. Okay. $500 million for vegetation management carried out in accordance with a water source management plan or a watershed protection restoration action plan. So wetlands and stuff like that. $500 million for vegetation management project that maintain, contribute to the restoration of old growth characteristics, including structure, composition, function, connectivity, according to the reference of old growth conditions characteristic of the forest type, taking into account the contribution of the project to landscape fire adaptation and ecological integrity of watershed and ecosystem health, the goal of retaining, right. So the opening salvo of this, was a smacked Republicans. And then once you get into the deep reads of this, they're going to just say this is a boondoggle for hiring more forestry agents to wander around waving at trees. We lost a woodpecker species. Well, they listed it as extinct. We'll see. $450 million for the Legacy Roads and Trails program of the Forestry Service. $350 million for, okay, yeah. this is all the inner workings of it. 100 million to provide more efficient and more effective environmental reviews by the hiring and training of additional personnel, development of programmatic assessment and templates, procurement of technical or scientific services, development of data technology systems, droning the trees is what it is. Stakeholder and community engagement, paying people not to burn the forests. All right. Purchase of new equipment, 50 million to develop and carry out activities and tactics for the protection of older and mature forests and national forestry system land. Yeah, okay. Tree hugging nonsense from the liberals. By the way, I am for all these things. As I think, hold on. Many of you are. Where'd it go? It has to be in here. It has to be. Oh.
I like wood.
You know what I mean? So.
Deeper and longer.
Right. So, there's no salvage. They're against salvage logging because of ecosystem. 50 million to develop. Okay, this is so that's the forestry management part. Stack upon stack upon stack, and this is where it gets to $3.5 trillion. You got $1 billion to award grants to tribal, state, and local governments, a regional organization, special district, or a nonprofit to implement community wildfire protection plans. Purchase firefighting equipment, provide firefighting training, increase capacity for planning, coordinating, and monitoring projects on non-federal land to protect at-risk communities. So it's just basically they're just going to pay these out to the nearbys. $1 billion to pay out to fire departments to keep people on staff for fire season. Did you hear? No, you didn't hear Chip meow. He's just sleeping in the corner. Hey, buddy, are you just sleepy? What's happening? You're just hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Do you want to come in? Buddy? You've been laying there. You're just so comfy. You just got good comfy listening to this stuff. Yeah. You just wanna. Hi. Hi, buddy. You okay? Yeah? Are you comfortable over there and then I ruined it for you? Oh, he's a sweetie. He's a sweetie. Isn't that sweet? Yeah, we're just talking about, we're getting wonky up in here. We're very wonky this morning. We're wonk. Wonk it out. I'm sorry I picked you up from where you were laying down. I feel bad. I feel like you should have a little bed in here then. Yeah? What do you think? I'm going to lay it down on something softer. I feel kind of bad. It's adorable. I mean, you can definitely come back in if you want. Put you down. I think he likes it in here because it's warm because of all the gear. Cats like boxes. It's true. I could just put a little box in here for him. We're at page 19 of this bill, and we're still in the forest. Let's see what else. Here you go. Look at this. Rural Energy Savings Program. My goodness. It's like a horror film setup. It totally is, yeah. In addition to amounts of otherwise available, there is appropriated to the Secretary for fiscal year 2022 out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated, $200 million to remain available until September 30th, 2031 to carry out this section. Use of funds. Except as provided in paragraph blah, 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 applying for the loan, the Secretary shall make a grant to the eligible entity in an amount of equal to 5%, which making property of qualified consumer, the facility, injury, fisherman, property. Okay, so this is like make your place Persistent poverty counties. In the case that the grant is for the purpose of making a loan under Section 6040 of the Farm Security and Rural Investment Act of 2002, that's quite a read, to a qualified consumer in a persistent poverty county, as determined by the Secretary. This is an interesting conversation that we need to have. A persistent poverty county. The percentage limitation in paragraph 1 of this subject will be definitions. Okay, eligible entity, qualified consumer, appropriation. In addition, okay, Rural Energy for America program for America. In addition to amounts otherwise available, there's appropriate to the Secretary to try to not. Oh, yeah, so any leftover money from this thing will be spent on underutilized renewable energy technologies. And so anybody, I got a blender turbine juicer machine that runs on cow farts, and all you got to do is lift the tail and hang it. That kind of stuff. $20 million, please. I'm kidding. This is fine. Yeah, this is a culture product market expansion. Okay, biofuel infrastructure and agriculture. I didn't see this part when I pulled the page down. Biofuel infrastructure and agriculture product market expansion. Okay. In addition to amounts, there's a debate to be had about the value of biofuels. Install, retrofit, or upgrade fuel dispensers, pumps, related equipment, storage tanks, so we can all have a diesel that runs on fry grease. Is that the idea? So obviously I'm not going to read this whole thing today. I'm going to take this aside and look at it. But there's a real point to looking at this stuff sometimes. I only seem like I'm on the left due to perspective. We're all the left according to the fashions. Right. Yeah. Anybody to the left of letting Trump become the next Xi Jinping is apparently a far left lunatic according to the right. The distance between, for example, this tweet and what's in this bill and what's not and that kind of stuff. Oh, hi, he's back. You just came back in, Mr. Man? You just decided you couldn't be without me? You couldn't? I took you in all the way in the other room. I took you all the way in the other room. And then you left. And you're an edible kitty. You're such a boy. You're such a boy. You are such a boy. Yeah, you're such a boy. Look at this boy. He just wants to hang out. Yeah. Hi. Here's my hair. Hi. You all right? Okay. There you go. Poopy kitty, we love you. Poopy kitty, what do? You can't climb up there because you're going to jump down and you're not going to know which way you want to go. So you can sit on my knee if you want, on my leg. You're still small enough for that a little bit, but you cannot walk on my keyboard. No, you cannot. No. He's lovely. He's a lover. Look at this little guy. Look at him. Look at the monkey. Look at the monkey. He's not a cat. He's a monkey. Is he chatty? Not really. He's got kind of a wheezy meow right now. Failed foster alert. Pretty close. He's very handsome and sweet. I'm going to miss him. Yeah, buddy. Hi. Yeah, I know. So, by looking at just the beginning of that bill and looking at an article about what's contained in it, you can see the distance between tweets about it, conversations about it, even online or even on the news in a lot of ways, versus, and your understanding of it, of what's in the bill and what might be the problems with it or what might be the best thing about it. What's the absolute keeper important aspect of it, the things that are a lightning rod, you're like, yeah, it's worth passing the whole bill just to keep that, right? You wouldn't necessarily know about those things without at least leafing through the thing or seeing what's really on the table. Because we keep hearing this 3.5 trillion will be transformational and yada, and that's absolutely true about elements of it. But other elements might not be transformational, or indeed, there you go, or might be counterproductive. Might seem like a good idea, but will fail. And therefore stop future successes because of past failures. Make people gun shy about doing the right thing because they thought they were doing the right thing before and it ended up being wrong. What are you doing? Don't eat paper. Give me that. That goes in the... I've got it. All right. I know I haven't emptied the garbage can in a while. But it's just boxes, though. So, right? We elected them to do this? No, you didn't. You elected yours to do this. Other people elected theirs to not do this. We don't have 60 votes in the Senate. We lost seats in the House. We're in a democracy. It's a pain in the ass sometimes. And if you set up like artificial wins for yourself that you perceive as possible when they are not, you are setting yourself up for instant disappointment. Instead of going, okay, how can I win? And personally, I think a version of both of these is going to pass. I just don't think I think the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill, which sounds fucked up. I've always found that like human resources is one of the most grotesque phrases in corporate America. It just sounds like stacking humans like cordwood, right? You know, human resources. We got a whole bucket of humans over here. You can use them if you need. Like human resources. Yes, it's me and a pile of coal and a screwdriver, and we're all basically equal. The same thing is true of like the human infrastructure thing. Like parts of that are absolutely that. Also, forest management isn't going to help solve climate change. It's going to deal with the effects of climate change, which is fine. But it's not going to actually, human resources, it's not going to actually mitigate the actual problem. That part isn't, right? That's just solving the current situation we're in. It's a practical response. So you'll find a bunch of people who are for the practical responses, but not for what they believe aren't, like the ones that don't believe in climate change, which is ridiculous. Like I've said many times, like you're never gonna hit pay dirt with them. You're gonna have to just argue pollution with them. Just argue pollution. Leave it at pollution, and then you can use that to drill down to why they don't give a shit about kids, because that's where it happens. Like you eventually get to, I don't believe in climate change. All right, you ever seen pollution since kids with asthma? Are you scratching, young man? What are you doing? He's behind my name. Hold on, I'm gonna move my name out of the way. Put this over here. And then he moves again. Now you're gonna lick your butt? Is that what's happening? Oh, it's a leg. Okay, that's all right. That's fine. He literally hid behind my name. I moved my name and he moved over to that corner. That's so funny. He's adorable. We love Chip. So my if you want to go, if you want to find a show that will tell you the world isn't ending and that this is if this doesn't go through in its current form, that it's the end of democracy and we're gonna blah 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 and panic and screaming and blah blah blah. Or if you want to go watch something where it's like, if this gets through, it's going to be the end of the world and the American experiment is over because socialism and we're Venezuela. There's plenty of both of those all over the internet, right? I don't need, nobody needs to add to those narratives. That's where the herd is going. That's what the herd is talking about. And a lot of times the herd it can be mistaken. And in that mistake, they cause themselves anxiety, fear, and pain and anguish that need not be there, because who tortures themselves with why they can't do a 9-foot high jump? What kind of an asshole says, I I know I can make a 9-foot high jump. And it was like, what are you talking about? It is not possible. No, it is. It's totally possible. It's the fucking refs that are stopping me. Why? Because they won't say 7 feet is 9 feet, right? That kind of thing. And again, when you're talking about the $3.5 trillion bill, it's best to know, at least in the broader strokes, what's in it. Because a lot of the people on TV selling it don't quite know yet. And they're so kind of wound up in the idea of selling it that they can't even sell the parts that would sell it the best. What about GOP controlling most state legislatures now? Controlling redistricting, last 10 years, they could draw themselves 6 new seats already. I've lost hope opinion. No. Their voters are dying in mass. There's a bunch of areas where, like, sensible Dems will be running against Republicans who have lost their minds. No. They have a big problem with voter turnout next year and the health of their voters. Huge. Statistically awful. They're panicking about it. They don't know how to handle it. They can't. They're afraid to alienate the base who doesn't want to vote anyways, and the base. Excuse you. All right. He just meowed at me. Did you see that? He's like, man, I'm just playing. So no, California's moving to Texas. No, the population of California has actually increased in the last 2 years. You mean Ben Shapiro and Joe Rogan? What are they, just following shitty power grid issues? We already had Enron. Let me go see if I can find a state with worse power grid issues. Yep, magic. Hi, silly. Now you're batting my headphones? Is that what's happening? Do not attack my headphones. You crazy little boy. You crazy little boy. You crazy little boy. You are a crazy little boy. You're crazy. So, look at Austin. Yeah, a lot of these states are changing. And I feel like what's my biggest concern, because I should wrap this up. We've been on for a while. My biggest concern in this is that in expressing concerns about the bill, the direction of the country, the maggots and Trumpsters who have an outside control over a dying opposition party. Why I should really care, I don't know. In the outcry about it, there's a lot of foot shooting that need not happen. There's a lot of just, again, selling panic, and instead of awareness and reality and the actual programs, the actual ideas, the actual positive impacts and aspects of this stuff. And it's because people don't know. People don't know. People, like so many people on the news talking about the $3.5 trillion package, don't know what's in it. Doesn't mean they can't. They can look it up. We just did, right? Whole goddamn thing is there. It's huge, as it should be, by the way. Anything that spends $3.5 trillion should be enormous. I'm against the removal of the filibuster. The minute you remove the filibuster or anybody tries, that's when Kristen Sinema switches parties. Then what? Take away the filibuster, Kristen Sinema switches sides, then what? Right? Manchin switches sides, guarantees himself a run as a sensible alternative to Trump in the Republican Party in 2024. Becomes, starts thinking President Manchin. You think that's out of the question? You think that's out of the world of possibility? You think the power that comes with just doing that is not intoxicating in and of itself? People run for president just to sell books, and it works. So yeah, you do not eliminate the filibuster. You can have carve-outs, like I said, through reconciliation. There's the argument that it should be about voting rights. We should be able to have an exception. Sounds brilliant until the Republicans are in charge, and they're the ones who have filibuster-proof reconciliation-style votes about voting rights in the United States? Are you out of your fucking mind? Right? Because the idea that you'll be in charge forever is an absurdity. Like I said, especially with these kind of margins. If we were at 65 senators and we were like, you know what, maybe the filibuster isn't needed anymore. We don't even use it, right? The fact that we're talking about the filibuster means we got work to do. The fact that we're talking about Manchin and Sinema means we have work to do. Selling our ideas and explaining them better. Right? Make it speaking filibuster. I always think it should be a speaking filibuster. Always. It's silly, just the threat of a filibuster. Bullshit. Go out there and talk. And the minute you get off topic, that somebody should be able, in the rules of the Senate, I believe, should be able to interrupt and go, point of order, Mr. Chairman, he's now reading the telephone book. This no longer deals with the bill at hand. I would like a simple roll call vote to end the filibuster, and you get it. That's how you do it. But still, when Sinema's not up for re-election until 2024. So no. And again, fight language sounds great. We had to fight. We have to fight. We got to fight for the fighty fight. Fight. What are you fighting? Explain to me what the fight looks like. How do you fight and convince Kristen Sinema to come to the table with a number she's okay with for the human infrastructure bill that she won't sign off on because her state only gets a third of the money in the community college payouts that Bernie Sanders' state gets? What's that fight look like? Do you use gloves? Is it MMA rules? Do they allow knees? What the fuck does fight mean in that situation? If you're in a single position where one person can hold the line, there is no fight. There is a hostage negotiation at best. And it boils down to fight the rich, love the poor. How are those mutually exclusive or equally valuable? I'm not a fan of bumper stickers. You're going to have to forgive me. I am not... let's see. There you go. Let's see. Report. There you go. Okay. You can't I'm not a paid shill to read someone's super chats. It doesn't work that way. If it's free speech, then just say it for free. And by the way, no one can block your free speech on their channel. Doesn't work that way. So go start your own channel. Good luck and good riddance. Some people are like, that Steve guy in the chat isn't a real is relentless. He's not a real person. Prove to me he is. What are you talking about? It's noise. Can I? Okay. Are you? What are you doing? He's in the shelf now. See, that's him right there. Chip. Psst. Psst. What are you doing? Hey, where are you getting? Why are you? What do you think is in that basket? Oh, you just need to smell everything? Is that what's happening? How do I get out past? I'm going to fall. How do I squeeze? Jesus. Hi, you. Can I help you? Yeah. You mind? Let me see if I can do this. There you go. I'm going to put this here. Thank you. And you can come out this way. And then I'll put that back. You're stuck. You were stuck in there, senor. You were. Why were you stuck? You silly boy. We've got jungle gyms all over this friggin' house for him. We do. We have climbing trees and everything. You're just a curious kitty. You really are. You're just in charge of being sweet today, aren't you? You just want nuzzling. And you don't know why I'm doing all this yammering in front of the camera. And now, fan. All right. There you go. So, this is my first kitten. Are you kidding me? We've got 4 cats. Cats always want the other thing. Yeah. Super chatting and rubles. Exactly. I do need one in every room. You're probably right. I think I'll need to put a little like cat bed in one of the. I know. What do you want? What? Huh? Ouch. He's like, play with me. All right, I will in a second. I'm almost done. I'm coming. He just grabbed my leg and went, meow. Like, what are you doing, Dad? It's so funny. Steve is truly Dan Bongino, right? He's trying desperately to be. But it's crucial to me that you recognize when artificial, I don't know what to call them, artificial goals, but impossible wins are sold as possible in certain times. Because what it does ultimately, what the ultimate result is to demoralize the electorate. This is why a lot of people have given up on, democracy in a lot of ways, or feel like they can give up on democracy, is that a possibility is floated to them. Why? This would be so easy. Why don't they just do this? And it becomes permanent throughout. It's everywhere. You see it tweeted all over the place, or on messaging. Even pundits start spewing this blather, when in reality it is not possible. And when you have been told the impossible is possible and then it fails to happen, you get demoralized. Check out the Q people. Those people are losing their fucking minds right now. Now, I mean, they were crazy to begin with, but what semblance of sanity they had, because none of it panned out. There were no, talk to those folks about like Hillary being killed at Gitmo and gallows on the White House lawn and tunnels full of children were released and Trump was this savior. Like, they bought that shit. And it was such a high bar that they were like, it could. And then when it didn't, they're like, this is all deep state. I don't vote anymore, right? They're spiraling out. There's a smaller version of that happens on the Democratic side all the time. It's a wind down version of it, but it is absolutely the same fucking thing. Why don't they just get rid of the filibuster for this, and then we'll do that, and then we can just get our stuff done, when we're one heartbeat away from the Democrats taking over. America's sick. America is not sick. America is a democracy. It is a complicated organism. That's how it works. I'm not, again, if you want the doom and gloom that this is the end of everything and oh my God, and we'd never had blah, 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 seriously, please go read a history book. Okay, getting shot, be right back. Getting a shot? I hope you're not getting shot at. Oh my gosh. Right, Pizzagate, that whole thing, right. Q totally lost steam, but it's turning into other stuff because they need desperately, right? But the point I mean is, don't be led around by the nose with impossible goals that when they don't work out, you're suddenly like, we never, and nothing ever, no one fights for, no one cares enough to, people don't love, they hate, but, like that kind of language. Beyond it being your own personal mistake to allow yourself to be kind of suckered by it. And that's the only part we can ever take responsibility for. I've fallen for some of these things before, and it's a learning curve. Maturity, in a lot of ways is learning to tap the brakes, so you ultimately live to get where you're going. Not because you're going to stop. Oh, your flu shot. Excellent. Yeah, that's why adults learn to compromise and push-pull. And again, this makes sense. If you look at the Republicans and how they view this as tyranny and all this stuff, and they're freaking out about all this, it makes sense if you look at them for what they are, which is people who are psychosexually arrested at 15 years old, no matter how old they are. So, it is crucial that, hold on. This should be able to, I think I could do it on here. Hold on. It's crucial that, like I said, there's plenty of areas where somebody can there's plenty of areas where you can go to find somebody who will tell you the world's ending. And that if this doesn't happen exactly the way you've been sold it, that this is a betrayal of everything that you've ever heard of, and that that it not only means that like Dems can't do anything right, or Republicans, and en masse don't care about any people, but it also means that that in essence, like the American experiment is wrong because this bill didn't pass. And I'm telling you, that's never how it's worked. It's never how it will work. And I'm not, and there, like I said, there's plenty of places where you'll hear that clamoring nonsense. But I've been trying to tell you guys all along that you have within it, that's right. Somebody tell Steve, if you donate $10,000, I'll leave the message up. Well, not the message, just the but I think we all have a responsibility to be able to back up what we're saying, right? To legitimately defend what we're talking about. And if you look at the bill and you look what's in it, you can see parts of it even that you would go, no. And that doesn't need to be in there, so why should it be? And nobody necessarily, maybe there's a better way to do it. Maybe there's a cheaper way to do it. Maybe there's a more expensive way to do it, and they're undercutting it, and blah, blah, blah. And we can have a conversation, and I could actually convince people to spend more money on something like that. That's democracy. This isn't the example of democracy not working. This is the example of democracy working. This kind of stuff should be difficult. This kind of stuff should take work. It should take messaging. It should, using taxpayer money, you should be able to tell the taxpayers where you're going, where you're getting it from, and what you're going to do with it. And in the broad strokes, the president has been doing a pretty good job of that. The Congress has not. Because the president's been pushing largely the main infrastructure bill and the value of the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. But Congress has been doing a shit job, especially the Progressive Caucus, at selling the human infrastructure bill. They're terrible at it. They have 3 talking points that sounds like it's 1 per trillion. And they don't work. And every single one of them, somebody's like, why don't you just put that in a separate bill and pass it with reconciliation? It's a budget thing anyways. Add 1 to the budget for every year for the next 3 years, and by the end of the thing, you'll have all these, you know what I mean? Oh, he's back. Yeah. What you doing? Hi. Now you're behind the computer? Is that what you're doing? The whole thing shuts off. This is why. So, yeah, they definitely need better messaging, and way better messaging than this. We must delay passing the infrastructure bill until we pass a strong reconciliation bill. We know that this is the Bernie Sanders version of Trumpism. Trump, I really did win. Frankly, we did win the election. That's what this is from the Sanders crowd. Frankly, I did beat Joe Biden in the primaries, right? That's basically the same kind of argument. Yes, Manchin wants $1.5 trillion, and some of that's through means testing, some of that's through other stuff. So work it out. That's not the hard part. he agrees on the paid family leave, expansion of pre-K, the Medicare thing. I don't know why, people have been talking that for a while, the ability to negotiate prices, but still, yeah. You have the same doors. Yeah, the pull or through, they're very weird, Foggy. I'm not sure I like them. Yeah, they think it's a backdoor way to Medicare for all, is essentially what they're trying to do. It's like Medicare for all by creep is the essential plan on the progressives caucus side. That's what that is. If you can't full on win the election, then pretend you did based on ideology and then slowly, chip away at that. That's, whatever. No, this is not legislation that has passed. The infrastructure bill passed, but the reconciliation bill, while they have a text of it, they're still marking it up or still considering what's in it. Everybody's already agreed that they agree on the numbers on the infrastructure bill. This is the progressive caucus holding it hostage, is essentially what it is. And the idea is that they know they're going to get the reconciliation bill passed. The problem is they don't have the votes in the Senate to pass it under reconciliation. They do not have them. They've got to. There's nothing they can offer Sinema or Manchin to change on a 3.5. Dead in the water. Not going to happen. There's nothing they can talk him into because they won't. In Manchin's case, he won't get reelected in his state, and he knows it. And in Sinema's case, they won't invite her back to Cloud Cuckoo Land or wherever the fuck she hangs out in Lego World. So I don't know what her reasoning is. But what I'm saying for the record, for the ever and for the real thing and for the reality of life and truth and what's actually happening, there are not enough votes to get the reconciliation bill passed, period, end of story, period, end of story. Not in this current form, not at all, not going to. And so, since they don't want to negotiate down to the 1.5 trillion, I suppose, to Manchin or make that work or even know what Sinema's rule would be on it, and no Republicans are going to vote for that one, and it has to be passed with reconciliation 50+1. Effectively, the game of hostage is to kill the purpose of it effectively is to kill the infrastructure bill. Just kill it as a flex on the progressive side. And that's the concern. Is that because there's, when you look online, especially in the people that seem to be, from a media standpoint, pulling the strings, Young Turks, Kyle Kalinske, that crowd, they absolutely believe in a scorched earth policy about this. If we can't get the other bill, fuck the infrastructure bill, let it all burn down. If somebody drives across a rickety bridge and falls into a river and dies, it's not my fucking problem. Never mind, it would have given broadband across the state. And it, by the way, has an infrastructure bank in it, which in and of itself would have invested in stuff in an ongoing nature beyond the expanse of the bill. So this is fascinating. How you get the danger of where we are, which is why you're hesitant, but we must make a stand now because a stand is coming either way. Let's do it while we're not literally underwater quite yet. I'm just asking what the stand is. The stand would be, if you want to make a stand, we got to make a stand. We have to make a stand. Making a stand is holding your nose and passing the infrastructure bill. Because that's what you can actually do. Unless your idea of a stand is just like march the soldiers into gunfire just so maybe the king of the other country will be afraid that we're not afraid to lose soldiers. Right? What's the stand then? Is the stand to we're not going to give you this if you don't give us that? Well, they're never going to give us this. 48 of us want it, but the other two aren't going to do it. They're never going to do it. We only have 50-50. You could go out and help us get 10 more senators elected. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Right? Taking a stand would be voting for the infrastructure bill and taking the win and then building each of these pieces, fighting for the heart of the human infrastructure bill as a process that takes over the next year. Introducing each piece, put it in every budget, put in elements of, because you're going to pass the budget with reconciliation anyways, Republicans aren't going to do shit. So put elements of it in each budget. which you pass with reconciliation. You have a reconciliation vote for the budget every year. And you have an extra one this year. That's what they were going to use for the 3.5 trillion. I mean, it's like, I'm not going to feed my kid until we can have a full Thanksgiving dinner. Is that what we're talking about? Unless my kid gets Thanksgiving dinner, he's not eating a goddamn thing. That does not seem like democracy. That seems like insanity. So and in many ways, yes, it's 3.5 trillion over 10 years. Agreed. But that's how the budget rolls out too. They do a continuing resolution. The budget will continue, and we're going to put these priorities and these priorities like that. You reshape it through your budgetary priorities. And you could, I mean, the argument would be, of course, the real argument would be is that this is money that we spent in Afghanistan, essentially setting up schools for other people in other countries. We can't do it here. That's an argument you could throw at the Republicans that will work in Congress. Congress people stand up and go, these people signed off on military spending for Afghanistan. They built schools, shored up roads and bridges, did support security. We had security for schools over there while it happened. And they won't do that for Americans? Right. That's one of the talking points that will work. But if you're going to talk about taking a stand, like we're going to take a stand, and then taking a stand would be fixing the infrastructure while you have the chance of the biggest bill ever. Why didn't you fold some into the defense bill? Why didn't they fold some into the defense bill? There's limitations on what they can do in terms of the defense bill, and they have to float them as amendments, and they'll never float. Because once you start loading up the defense bill, it becomes sort of sacrosanct. People are trying to get it smaller over time anyways on the Democratic side, so they don't support adding things to what is effectively a defense budget, like schooling and shit like that. Although I think the forestry stuff might have been something like homeland defense. Like I've often said that that healthcare falls under the provide for the common welfare aspect of the Constitution. So it's absolutely constitutional to have a nationalized healthcare system, a public option, as it were, that people have the option to be in or out of. But yeah, so hold on one second. Let me flip this over here. I'm going to remember which screen I have. I have to set up buttons for this. I didn't set up buttons at all. But when you hear people talking about this, the clamoring, oh my God, it's you're watching kids at Christmas. 84% want it in Manchin State. They want the infrastructure bill. They believe that the other one, it depends on the questioning of the poll. I've seen multiple polls about this, but the vast majority do want the things that are in it when you talk about it, the primary things. They balk at the $3.5 trillion bill. That's what he's running up against. And he's still going to get pushback. I'm not excusing Manchin's behavior in this. I think there's probably something else going on. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about reality. I'm talking about getting the infrastructure bill passed for real instead of capsizing the whole thing because there are these two anomalies we have no control over. There's no fight. There is no fight with either of them that works. There is a negotiation with Manchin about a smaller version of it, of the second bill that would work, which still doesn't have a good name. The human infrastructure bill is terrible. Sounds gross. Sounds like you're making people to build bridges. Sounds like Soylent Green. It's not going to work. The infrastructure bill across the board. Yeah, I agree. Promote the general welfare. That's right. This is a promotion of the general welfare. I think this absolutely falls under that. And if they hate the word welfare, but if you said promote the general welfare, promote it. Promote the general welfare. We're not making welfare. We're promoting the general welfare of the country. And that's what this bill is about. You talk about it in those terms and in constitutional terms. You have to talk about the giant bill in constitutional terms. Every time you bring it up. In constitutional terms. So 3.5 billion, it's trillion. 3.5 trillion is already a compromise. No, it most certainly is not. I mean, it's a compromise from the we should have 10 or we should have 5. Those aren't real things that were floated. So, the important thing is that, and again, I actually think they do have a strategy for doing this. I just am tired of people acting like cinema is a solvable problem. Right? You know what I mean? And then saying that problem somehow is magically going to be solved by, fighting. What's your fight? Explain your fight with Kristen Sinema. What are you going to do? Cut Arizona off from federal spending so she's a nutcase, won't vote the way you want, but everybody in Arizona has to suffer? What? What do you got? What does anybody got? No, the solution is pass the infrastructure bill and negotiate a version of it until you do figure out what she wants, or you find a version of it that you can bring on a Republican vote. It's work, but that's the reality of it. The solution to Sinema is 3 more Democratic senators. Exactly, Francis. Exactly. The fact that we are even having to worry about the senator from Arizona is our problem with our message and our policies. Right? These are popular. We have 68% approval for the infrastructure plan and for nationwide for the larger human infrastructure bill, which I hate the name of. I'm going to come up with some nickname for it. We'll figure it out. But 68% of the public is for this. However, we need more senators, and we used to have more senators. It's not like it's always been this low. In some cases, Biden needs to remove her. Biden cannot remove her. Biden cannot remove Kristen Sinema from office. I know I'm still streaming. But again, this comes with this. These are the ideas that are floating around in people's heads that make it harder for Dems who are trying to actually build something and make it work, because people have this illusion that there's a solution there that doesn't exist. So, can we recall her? No, not unless you're an Arizona voter. Kick her out of the party. What's she going to do? Go join the Republicans and now it's 51-49? Yeah. Yes, kick her out of the Democratic Party. She'll run as an independent. Arizona will re-elect her. Bernie's an independent. He's not in the Democratic Party. The progressives are holding line, stay true and hold. I don't know that they're holding the line. There's a debate that they're holding a hostage. And staying true if you don't get the infrastructure bill because Kristen Sinema isn't going to let it pass is not holding a line. All you're doing is forcing Nancy Pelosi into a corner that she has no way out of. Can Nancy Pelosi force Kristen Sinema to vote in reconciliation for the $3.5 trillion? Did she have any power? Honestly, think about that for a second. You've heard this a bunch of times. Right? None. What power does the Speaker of the House have over a sitting senator in Arizona? Think about it. What's stopping Sinema? She's not saying. That's my point. You don't have leverage. There is no fight. She's not joining it at all. She's just being a wall. You are punching a wall. Will ending the filibuster work? No. Nancy Pelosi has no control over the votes of Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema. And Biden and the Senate Democrats, Schumer or anybody, that I'm aware of, it's different with Manchin. There may be some negotiation there. Has nothing they can offer to Kristen Sinema to bring her on board. Nothing. So what's holding the line? Tell me how you're holding the line. Yeah, if her donors are stopping her, that's a reason. And if Sinema's not getting reelected, maybe she's just walking into a pile of cash when this is over. She wouldn't be the first. What the fuck does that have to do with the strategy of getting something passed that you can? If she was in a coma, you'd still have the same problem. Bernie ran as a Dem when he ran for president. Both times, and then he went back to being an independent. He's not a Democrat. That's not the point. He's going to vote with the Democrats on this no matter what. But the idea that they're holding the line, what line? The line against Nancy Pelosi? They're not going to affect Sinema's vote at all. They aren't. There is nothing they can do. If they have some magical pixie dust, because that seems to be something that's in line with her being, that can shift her over, I'd like to hear it. But until you figure out how, until you, and like, yeah, people are getting it. People, somebody said she's getting attention. People are buying her books, right? And if we kick her out of the party and she becomes an independent, she could run as an independent on her maverick status. That's what kept. Do you remember who the senator from Arizona was? She danced down and went at one of the bills like she was playing John McCain. You are not holding a line if you are pushing your party off a cliff. You're not. What line? I hear this language all the fucking time, and no one has an answer. What line are you holding? Arizona Dems are leaning on her. Well, shit. What, are they going to lean on her until she joins a lobbying group 3 years from now? There's no line. The progressives in the House are not holding a line. Not anymore. They would be if they were saying, if they would be holding a line if Pelosi was against it. If Pelosi was the holdup. If they knew Pelosi wasn't going to bring the $3.5 trillion bill to the floor of the House, they could say, we're not going to let you bring this one to the floor unless you bring this one. If Pelosi was the problem, Pelosi is not the problem. Pelosi wants both to pass. Pelosi has no fucking control over the votes of Sinema and Manchin. None. So, none of the progressives in the Progressive Caucus are quote unquote holding the line. None. They just aren't. They are not. They're not. Isn't that promote the general welfare? Isn't it the green light to universal health care? I hope that's my personal belief. I also believe that the common defense also works because you have more of a chance of dying from an infectious disease than being shot by a foreign soldier or killed by a terrorist. So why wouldn't national health care be under the common defense? I'm tired of the lie about the progressives holding the line in the House, because they are not holding the line. They are leveraging Pelosi about the behaviors of two people they have no control over. That is not holding the line. They're holding the line is we're being attacked. Red Rover, you can't get through. We're going to lock arms. We're holding the line. We're going to march. It sounds great, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. None of the House, I'm sorry. Like, I want these bills to pass. Understand. I like these bills. I want them to pass. But this language is nonsense, and everybody knows it, so nobody's taking it seriously. They're not holding a gun to Kristen Sinema's head. They're holding it to, arguably, Nancy Pelosi's and the entire country's over their infrastructure. Sorry. But got to hold the line. Right, exactly. They'll be passed in one form or another. What's the solution? The solution is that they pass more than likely, is that they negotiate with Manchin for a $1.5 trillion. They find some way to bring Sinema on board for the reconciliation bill sometime in the next month and figure out what the fuck she wants. And it probably means scooping out the Medicare negotiating drugs part. And she'll go down in flames in her election a few years from now, but she'll land in a giant pile of money, so she won't give a shit. And all the people who are like, we got rid of that old white guy and we got a girl in there. Like, those folks are going to be having crow for Thanksgiving for the next 3 years. But again, the most important thing, oh God, I have to go. Yes, please, cancel line. Don't worry, I've stayed on way too long. I'll sign off. We'll talk about this more because I have no doubt it'll come up. I'm sure there will be video about this. But I'm telling you, I'm not telling you what you want to hear. I'm telling you just what is. And maybe once you know what is, you can actually, in your own mind, come up with solutions that will actually solve it instead of the solution that you should have and to the problem you wish you had. I mean, it's like it's like sitting at a football game and somebody next to you goes, you know, like if our offensive line was like all Hulks, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? How? Paradieu. How? How am I wrong? How's basically meaning that Democrats aren't effective? No, I'm not. They got the biggest bipartisan infrastructure bill passed through the House and Senate. We're talking about a wholly other bill. How can you win as a Democrat and you're pushing your own party over the cliff? Right. Well, she's not going to. She didn't have to. She could run as an independent. That's what I'm saying. They don't have leverage. Don't pretend she does. And don't get upset because the leverage you think you had doesn't exist. Keep digging. So funny. You have an incrementalist position, right? A pragmatic, right? No. I'm telling you what's actually occurring. This isn't about what I think the best strategy would be in general if we were in a better position. There is no other, there is no there. There is no version of reality that you can go, if we were just standing 2 feet to our right or 2 feet to our left, we could slip through the gate. I'm just being honest with you about what your realistic choices are here. Tell me, somebody explain to me how the Progressive Caucus is, quote, holding the line. Think about it over the afternoon. Let me know in the afternoon. I will see you guys later. I don't have an ending screen on this version of the show, so I'll just use my old-fashioned one, and I will see you guys later on this afternoon. Thanks. Pragmatism is not a characteristic of progressives. Perhaps not, but even in this circumstance, if you're drowning, maybe swimming is your first order of business instead of learning to play tennis. Just saying. We'll be back this afternoon. Okay, bye.